I've come across some folks who have the deepest of father wounds. They couldn't address God as Father, but they could talk to Our Lady. And I think that is a mercy of God.
Rosary in a year. This podcast hit top of the charts.
It's a little bit vulnerable on my end. I'll say this, actually the success of the Rosary in the Year podcast was quite isolating.
What's the origin of the Rosary? Because it's not like Jesus handed all his 12 disciples a rosary.
I'm an active proponent of online dating. I just encourage people to have a line in as many places as possible.
Abuse is real. There are situations where you need to separate if you're in a marriage, and that doesn't mean you're violating your marriage or your faith.
Almost everyone is under-affirmed and under-celebrated. If we're going to make a mistake, I would make a mistake towards celebrating people and the good things that are happening.
Last month, over 65% of our listeners were not subscribed yet to the show. So if you could do me a favor and check to see that you're actually subscribed, I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you find this episode helpful, inspiring, consider leaving it a like and sharing it with a friend and comment below. I read all the comments. Lastly, please check out our Patreon to support our community. You'll get several perks as well as 30% off our new merch line. That's patreon.com/Lila Rose Show. Thank you so much for being a part of the Lila Rose Show community. Father Mark Mary, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
I love your name.
Yeah.
It's great.
Me too. I appreciate that.
The two
Thank
M's, you got Mary in there.
Yeah.
What made you pick Mark Mary?
So my full religious name is Mark Mary Maximilian. So 3 M's. Which is kind of cool, and we can kind of touch on that for a second. Just kind of do a lot of media work in St. Maximilian Kolbe is like the patron saint of that. Yeah. And I had no idea I had no plan on doing any media work. That wasn't part of it.
Really?
So it just felt kind of like a little providential thing. Mm-hmm. But I'm baptized Mark. So I'm baptized Mark Daniel. And we have a tradition when we become friars of taking a name, and you can kind of pray about it. And long story short is I just felt like God really used Our Lady in some specific ways to bring me about here. And so that this is now Mary's Mark. So there's just what God has done through Our Lady to bring me to this place. And so that's the idea is Mark Mary with just this emphasis on in gratitude of what Our Lady's done for me.
You're all over, Father.
Sure.
I've got multiple podcasts, not just one.
Yeah.
We were talking before we sat down about just the sheer workload of it. Rosary in a year was hit the top of the charts. I mean,
it did for a couple of days. Yeah.
An amazing thing to see the Rosary at the top of Apple Podcast charts. Yeah. I was like, that's very cool. And then you are traveling the country. You speak. You're going to be speaking at Seek in a few weeks.
Yeah.
You're also running social media for the CFRs. So you're a very outward-facing CFR, Franciscan.
Yeah.
And you're very productive.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
And it's controversial because I think today there's in the faith community, Catholicism, especially Mary, in the media space is being, I think, brought up more than I've ever seen in decades.
Okay. Yeah.
And you were at the tip of the spear with that with the Rosary in a Year podcast.
Yeah, but I'm kind of doing it my way, which is my focus is helping people make the next best step in their spiritual life, right? And so the Rosary in a Year podcast, it's not an apologetics thing. We're not talking. It's not argumentation. It's not this or that. It's helping people to pray and to enter into a relationship better with her, and for those who have questions, the invitation is hey, just come check it out, come and see, and I think you'll actually find it to be a lot more beautiful and helpful and less scary and less controversial than maybe you might think. But I get it. There's a lot there. Yeah. I
do know a lot of Protestants who are praying the rosary or who carry rosaries with them.
Do you know what do they say? Usually
they say they note that the rosary is scriptural, a lot of it anyways, at least the first half of every Hail Mary, the Our Father scriptural, the Glory Be is scriptural. And I think they feel a connection to the beads. It's a way to pray. I mean, there's something very obviously human about having a prayer guide like that, it's a tool like that. The part about praying to Mary is where there's a little bit of a struggle, I think, for a lot of people. I know for myself, I was raised Protestant, and that was a question mark. What does it mean to pray to Mary? I thought Jesus is the only mediator.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can let me know if this makes sense to me. Part of, because the question is well, why would I talk to Mary when I could just talk to Jesus, And, I can imagine if you're married, if you're with your husband in some space, whatever it is, when he goes and has a relationship with somebody else you love, like that's actually like a gift to you, you know? And so like you're with Jesus and you're like, you're with Jesus and you're hanging out in, you know, the kitchen or whatever like that. And then you go and like love and like are attentive to his mom. Like it actually is a gift to him as well, you know? And I get it because people like are protective of Jesus and they love Jesus and they don't want anything that's going to take away from his glory. Okay, we get that. And I just think that actually loving Our Lady as it actually glorifies him more. And it is even like it's just a sweet gift to Jesus as well when we love Mary.
I think a lot of people think that, at least non-Catholics who are Christians, think that praying to anybody who's dead, except for God, who can't be dead, he's, Jesus died as a man, but obviously he resurrected, he's God, is unbiblical. Mm-hmm. And so maybe they're like, yeah, we should respect and revere Mary more. That's fine. She is the mother of Jesus, who is God. But praying to Mary is a step too far.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Jesus has kind of showed himself to be a God of abundance and overabundance, right? And like if you just look at creation itself, it's like way more than was necessary, right?
So
and
true.
You know, and this is a little bit revelatory of the heart of God. And so Jesus, like I kind of look at I love the beauty of how he gives himself in the most holy Eucharist through the form of bread and wine. And like I kind of see bread as like the staple, that which is necessary. And he gives us that which is necessary. He gives us life. He gives us salvation. And then like the wine, like wine isn't strictly necessary. There's like this added sweetness to it. And that Jesus doesn't just give us only what's necessary. He gives us more than. He gives us like a sweetness, a joy in this life. And I think that with Our Lady and even in all the saints and the beauty of their example and the beauty of ways we can connect to them, there is this like, yeah, God is 100% enough and he is overabundant in himself, but also he has like all these ways in which he wants to bless us and care for us through, for example, the saints and the angels and maybe just like there's also like a bit of a practicality to it is like
practicality to praying to Mary.
Or
the saints
to Jesus giving us Mary and us having like capacity for a relationship with her. I've like come across some folks who have like the deepest of father wounds, and when they started to kind of come back to the faith, like they couldn't address God as Father and they couldn't talk to Jesus because of like their maleness or the masculinity, like the maleness of Jesus, right? But they could talk to Our Lady. And I think like that is a mercy of God. And
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Meaning to get started in their journey back to God, Mary led them back to the true Father after they'd been so betrayed by their earthly father.
Yeah, but and that's exactly what happened is she came all the way back. But like Mary was like kind of a safe starting spot that and I guess I would say a safe spot, and then slowly she did bring this woman I'm thinking of to fullness relationship with the Most Holy Trinity.
What's your relationship like with Mary? And I'm going to guess it's connected to you becoming a Franciscan and a priest.
Yeah. Like it's always developing and ongoing, and I think I'll maybe kind of give like part of the Mark Mary thing is when I was like I had my all in for Jesus, like my conversion when I was a freshman in college. And this thing started happening that like.
Sorry, were you raised Christian before that?
So I was Catholic, yeah.
But you kind of weren't practicing in high school, or?
Well, I would just say I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Okay.
And so like I had this thing that I wanted to be dynamic, which meant you go to mass on Sunday, you can go to the youth group, you can work with the poor, but also like kind of like with like the social stuff, like the party stuff, you kind of do what everybody else is doing. And it was freshman year of college where I realized what I thought was dynamic was like hypocritical, and that I believe and it needs to affect my whole life. And we can go into that if you want, because it was at a random dorm party while having a conversation with an atheist and drinking boxed wine out of a Diet Pepsi bottle.
Why?
That my whole life changed.
Why? Why diet wine in a diet? Why wine in a Diet Pepsi bottle to disguise it?
I think it was just
or it was dynamic.
it was practical. I was 18, so it wasn't legal. But it was like boxed wine, And so, and like, I would just put it from the box into the Diet Pepsi bottle.
Probably tasted gross if there's like Diet Pepsi in it.
I mean, it was empty. I'd already drank the Diet Pepsi.
You're not supposed to reuse those.
It wasn't correct. Yeah.
You're like, this is not as fun, dynamic as I thought it would be.
It was not distinguished by any stretch.
Like when you say you were partying, there's good Catholic partying. There's good Christian partying.
Sure.
That doesn't include any sin. You know, the wedding feast at Cana is this ultimate party, Jesus' first miracle. So were you involved in a life of certain sin, and then you're like, I got to just cut the sin out, or more you were just a lukewarm type?
It was more, it was ignorance more than anything. And I never, like, I have a very, very good family, very, very good foundation. And I actually kind of cared about, and a phenomenal youth ministry that like changed my life and is what it was my social group through high school. So like the partying was like occasional, like weekend drinking, nothing more than that. But also like I think really after my conversion immediately happened, I don't even think I knew like drinking to get drunk was a problem, because you kind of see it all over the place. And so again, like I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was committing mortal sin, but it wasn't more than kind of weekend drinking. That's
an interesting observation. A lot of people don't know that getting drunk is a mortal sin.
Yeah. So yeah,
you got to go to confession before receiving Holy Eucharist and repent of it.
Yeah.
So, but you were saying you're drinking, you're having a conversation with an atheist. This is before your onset of really a deeper relationship with Mary and God first and foremost. And you're discussing an atheist, you're drinking the boxed wine in the Pepsi bottle.
Yeah.
And then
like my experience, God had a plan for me, and he came after me, and he kind of like picked me up. And so there's just a lot of things that happened with my conversion and vocation that are like they're not normal. So I'm there and I'm having this conversation with this other college student. She says she doesn't believe. And I just start like defending the faith. How can you not believe it's the word of God, this and that? And I just like, it was a St. Paul, like I just got rocked to my core. And what I just heard basically is like, I believe and it needs to affect my whole life. And it was, this was like, it just came to light, and I ended up going and I had a pretty powerful moment just like a couple of days ago, where I was actually yesterday seeing everybody from this time again for the first time in like a long time. But I like, it was like the middle of the night, and I called this woman, Dawn, who, it was kind of part of the youth ministry. She accompanied me. And so like I called her and I'm like crying and telling her all this stuff that's happening. And not everything changed, but the trajectory of my life completely changed. And I kind of was like, everything is on the table for Jesus. And I'm gonna give him a blank check and do whatever he asks and go wherever he invites me, etc. And so like it was a random, unique setting, but the grace like really did just change my entire life.
And did you have any idea up until this point that you would become a priest? Was that even on the radar for you?
No, I never thought about it. We don't like. I wouldn't have known the word religious. I would have thought religious meant somebody who cared about religion, like the idea of consecrated people. I had no idea really about it. I kind of knew about nuns loosely, but growing up, I grew up in Anaheim Hills. Like there's just nothing like this there. And we're very close with we work very close with my pastor. But I never thought about it.
What was an example of something you said, all these things that were not normal started to happen or you experienced? What's an example? So that's like a kind of unique grace. And it was like an interior voice almost in your heart. Like
it was like an epiphany. It was a coming to light. It was like, I believe. It was, grace is like a theological virtue. Grace is something given. And it was almost like I kind of got this like special like infusion of faith and of grace and of like seeing what was true and what was true for me, and that I believe that needs to affect my whole life. And so it was like an experience of a conviction, more than like a whispering or a voice. So that was like a thing. I learned about I got my vocation to the CFRs at In-N-Out Burger. So like
great spot.
Yeah, like
in California here.
Yeah, over in Imperial Highway.
Is it still there? The In-N-Out?
It's still there. Yeah, it's still there.
Gotta go back for a burger this trip.
The most controversial thing I'll say here is that like I'm not the biggest In-N-Out guy.
After all, it's done
even
for you.
Even though it gave me my this beautiful gift and vocation, I'm not opposed to it. But It's not
you
my
just
number
don't like
one.
hamburgers then.
It's not, well, it's fine. It's good. It's good.
I just got sorry. Side note: I made burgers last night for dinner because we're trying not to eat out too much. It's expensive and gross and whatever to eat out typically. So I'm making the burgers at home. Not a hard meal to make. Okay. Anyways, I had like the spread and We're all sitting down and I'm like, my husband's like, "This is so delicious. Thank you. Thanks, love." I'm like, "How is it, guys?" And then I just was like, "What do you like better, these burgers or In-N-Out?" To my kids who are 5 and 4, the two boys, and they're like, "Oh, In-N-Out is way better." And they weren't even trying to be mean. They're just And I'm like, "Yeah, they are. They do taste better than these burgers."
Yeah.
So
that's
you don't want to eat my burgers. Is what I'm trying to say.
A mom's heart when her little, because I was with some friends of mine who have a bunch of boys, and she just made some cookies, and one of them, who's like my godson, was like 6, like, "I don't like these." That's just part of the job.
It's honesty.
Yeah.
I actually value that. As long as they tell me they love me, give me hugs and kisses. They can tell me they don't like my food.
There
That's
you
fine.
go. There you go.
I didn't even like it. I mean, I made it for them because they like burgers, but clearly.
Can husband
Next
and
time
wife
we're going to do In-N-Out.
give each other feedback on that?
That's an interesting and controversial question.
Okay.
I mean, I would be fine if my husband critiqued my cooking. I really would, because I don't take it very personally.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. Because I think he's sincerely grateful that when I make him meals, which is a blessing. But I don't think it would be like wrong. I have asked him like, "Hey, do you like this?" And if I coax it out of him, he will give me feedback.
Okay.
He's a very
it's probably the
modest man and very wise and just. So he's not gonna throw out his requests or requirements. He doesn't really have requirements, but if he'll give me like potatoes, he likes them crispy. Like I'll be like, "Hey, dude," he'll like So
okay, yeah. It's probably, I'm sure all the marriages navigate those things a little bit differently. It seems
if you're married to an Italian, they're like, "Do you like? Isn't this delicious? What I made?" That's how I grew up with my mom cooking, and she'd be like, "Isn't this so delicious? What I made?" And you ought to be like, "Yes, it's so delicious," and it was delicious.
Yeah,
I'm not. I don't think I'm as good as a cook as my mom is the thing. So yeah,
I went down. I'll get back to the
In-N-Out
the In-N-Out thing. But like when I was down, I've grown with this great love of Louisiana, particularly Lafayette, Louisiana. And when I went down there for the first time, I went to Broussard, which is right next to it. Like the priest had to like give us like a little lesson on how to react to food. Cause like, it's very important that it's like very expressive and you can't just be like, "Oh, that's good." You have to let them know, over the top how much you love it and all this sort of stuff. So I had to get some coaching on it, which is probably what, your mom would appreciate.
Did you love it? Like crawfish, right? And that like very heavily flavored.
Yeah, I liked it.
Oh, you did?
I mean, I would say crawfish, I love the experience. I'm a crawfish boil fan, big time. It sounds like it's not your favorite thing.
I've never got into it, no.
Okay.
I like the beignets I had when I was in New Orleans at that
right.
beignet shop or whatever. They give the donuts with the dust on them.
That's pretty safe to say I like, the donut
donuts.
type of thing, the fancy donut. Yeah. No, I like it. And part of what I love about South Louisiana is like they actually have a real culture that they care about and they're proud of.
That's true. And it's very Catholic.
It's very Catholic. So I love it down there. But I'm not a big foodie. And so it's not.
That's why you don't like In-N-Out.
Maybe that's why.
We're fine.
that could very much be why. You
like McDonald's.
I do like McDonald's.
You do.
I'm not proud of it. I like all fast food.
You like McDonald's better than In-N-Out? Be honest.
Do I like it better? I definitely like their French fries better.
Oh. McDonald's French fries aren't even real potato. Look up the ingredients, Harris. Haven't you seen these studies? You can leave a McDonald's French fry in like a hole in the ground for like a decade and you come back and it's still there.
Beautiful. That's great. If you ever lose it, it's still good. I overreacted too far to some, because again, I'm Orange County, whatever. Like some of the like hyper like organic food world, I revolted against a little bit and was like, "Give me the processed. I want everything. The more processed, the better." I used to say that in high school, I used to eat really clean, and I thought it was clean, and I would have a Diet Coke and a protein bar every morning on the way to school, and people were like, "I don't think eating clean is like what you think it is." But I've come intellectually. I've had a conversion of the space, and I value healthy food and things like that. But the process, we eat like, because we cook for ourselves, we eat like a home cooked meal every day, and we never eat fast food stuff. So it's always kind of a treat.
I see. All right. I know we're going to hear about the conversion story at In-N-Out, and we're going to get to the Mary. But now I've got to ask you, because you told me before we sat down that you cook once or twice a week for the 5 brothers you live with in New York.
Yeah.
And I've got to ask, what do you make?
So whatever. Me, I'm whatever's easiest.
Like, is that frozen meals from the
No, there's no frozen meals. Okay, there's nothing like that. There's no frozen meals.
That's doing great. That's doing better than a third of American families.
Yeah. That's the thing is we, generally we can eat pretty decent and pretty like healthy. Like I think like probably like, because everything's donated. So probably like the maybe like the ground beef's probably on the cheaper end, which is probably, you know, like higher fat to whatever content. We're not getting specialized anything. But we do pretty good. But so I live with, so I'm the only priest in my house. It's me, and then there's 4 friar seminarians, and but in the friary we all take turns cooking, and so sometimes it's once, sometimes twice a week. But and then also like we cook meals and serve them at the door to like some of the homeless and some like day laborers, and so the guy who cooks for the friars also cooks for like our neighbors at the same time.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's so. So is it when you're doing the food at the door, when you cook for the household, you sometimes put the meals at the door as well for people passing by?
So they ring the doorbell, and we go out and serve them, like dish it up. That's and amazing. Serve it to them and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's pretty, I mean, it's pretty like, it's a lot of it's like beans and rice and like tortillas and stuff like that. So it's like, it's not fancy, but simple, and for a lot of the guys who we work with, like that's kind of what they prefer even more than we used to have like a pizza donation. And I think the beans and the rice and coffee and stuff is great.
Yeah.
And then yeah. So I'm not a great cook. And I don't care.
I don't think people go to you for food. I mean, I guess some do. I guess some do. And you're like the day laborers or the homeless, but your average person is going to you for the Rosary in a Year or your very insightful YouTube videos and podcasts.
Other stuff. Yeah. We have a couple guys, like one of our brothers is like, he's from France, but he's like a very good cook.
Nice.
And they have a very different relationship to food than we do. And like in probably a much more healthy way.
Yeah, that's why they're all like in shape in France. Like the obesity rate compared to here is there's night and day.
Yeah.
It's really hard to find good content to watch with my kids for when they are allowed to have screen time. I'm always on the lookout for low stimulating, story-driven, and values-based kids content. That's why I'm very excited about Brave Plus. Brave Plus is a new streaming platform with content that reinforces our values instead of undermining them. Every show is vetted by real Christian parents, not only to screen out messages that are harmful, but to also avoid overstimulating video content that's linked to mental and behavioral issues. When you check it out, you'll find classics like Strawberry Shortcake, Babar, Paddington, as well as new shows like season 2 of Iggy and Mr. Kirk, starring Kirk Cameron. And right now, just for my listeners, you can try Brave Plus free for 7 days. Go to braveplus.com/Lila. That's braveplus.com/Lila for a free 7-day trial. It's a cruel irony that most diaper companies in America support pro-abortion groups. Every Life is America's only pro-life baby product and feminine care product company. Every Life offers best-in-class diapers, wipes, and other baby products, as well as their brand new women's line with pads and tampons made with 100% GOTS certified organic cotton and breathable, seamless period underwear. These are the products that I use for myself at home as well as for my babies. Head over to everylife.com/Lila today and use my code Lila for 10% off your first order. Support babies and mothers and sign yourself or a loved one up and their baby today over at everylife.com/Lila. All right. So sorry. Thank you for letting me take on a culinary exercise here. But back to In-N-Out. That's when you discovered your vocation at In-N-Out?
Yeah. So I was a freshman in college. Everything happened super quick. So I had my like all in, I'm like all in for Jesus about maybe a month and a half into, and this actually we can connect this to Our Lady very naturally, like about a month and a half into my freshman year of college. And then I was coming back to Anaheim Hills quite a bit from like LA basically. And after like some young adult meeting, we went to In-N-Out and there's a guy there who I only met him that one night. I don't even remember his name. He said, there's this group of Franciscans in New York who are hardcore and sleep on the ground. And that's That's all I had. That's all I knew. That's all I heard. But for me at that point, I'd been on a little bit of a journey, and I was kind of leaning towards, I wanted to work with the poor, and I thought maybe I wanted to be a priest. And so this was like the most all-in, intense way to follow Jesus that I'd ever heard of. So I went home that night and did like a Google search. Like it was like monks, New York, like gray, like just, and I found the CFR's website, and I read our constitutions, which is like our way of life. And it was all my desires on like a piece of paper.
Wow.
And so it's like, if this is true, this is everything I'm looking for. And so that's like I hadn't met I didn't meet a friar, nothing happened. And it's just like, I had like clarity and conviction that this is what I want to do. And what I'm called to do.
Just because a guy at In-N-Out said that to you.
Just because because the guy at the In-N-Out said this thing about the hardcore for Jesus thing, whatever. But then what I read on the constitutions is like, they pray, they work with the poor, the poverty, and like being pro-life and doing pro-life work is like explicit in our constitutions. All of it was like, this is exactly what I want. And so that, like, for me, God made where he wanted me to go super clear and obvious. And I think because like there was going to be some like friction. My life here was great and beautiful, and it was really hard to leave, you know? And so like, but I had this conviction that like, actually this is where God's calling me, and this is what I deep down want the most.
What was the pro-life piece? Were you already passionately pro-life?
I wasn't like super well catechized. I didn't grow up in like a really profound Catholic culture. And so like I was convicted of like the value, like that pro-life, of all the realities of being pro-life and the importance of it. I wasn't like actively doing stuff with it. But the fact that it was something that from our very beginning, the friars have said that this is something that it's an essential part of our work. Yeah.
So you read the Constitution, you'd never met a CFR before.
Yeah.
And now you're on the hunt to try to go meet them. What was the next step?
No, that's again where it's kind of weird. Like these are some of the things that are like not recommended. I didn't have a spiritual director, so I didn't have any guidance. And it was just like, I knew I was going to finish college. But I knew that was where I wanted to go. And so I changed my major to philosophy, because if you want to be a priest, you have to study philosophy. Like I did all of this stuff knowing that that's where I was going to go, but I never like reached out and talked to a CFR. So
I have a quick question about that.
Yeah.
Did you have other friends who had spiritual directors at the time?
No.
That wasn't like a thing?
No.
This is my observation, is people, if they are around other people who don't approach the spiritual life with that kind of intentionality, and it's not out of a lack of goodwill.
Yeah.
It's just a formation thing.
Yeah.
Then it's like a foreign thing. Like, oh, a spiritual director that I meet with like weekly or at least monthly, and I like bare my soul to. You know, that's like, it's very unusual for a lot of people. They're like, oh, like, but if you have friends that do it or mentors that have encouraged you to do it, it's a different dimension, and it's so fruitful. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like if having a spiritual director that you bare your soul to regularly, the same guy, you know, because you can like switch it around and then no one really knows you, but the same person that you are, you know, looking for guidance from to get closer to God, right? That's the whole name of the game, you know, the spiritual life. It's transformative. Yeah. But if people don't have it, like they kind of can wander.
Yeah. And I have a variety of thoughts about it. Certainly the demand for spiritual direction is trending towards, it feels like, an all-time high.
Amazing.
The difficulty.
Why do you say that?
Because I think that's true.
Okay. You just see, you've observed it.
Yeah. And
I agree.
For example, like a lot of like young adult missionaries, like the Focus missionaries, whatever, they're all kind of like expected to try and have a spiritual director. There's a lot of people who want it. It's one of the most common requests we get through our like website is a friar available for spiritual direction.
It's awesome.
The difficulty is the demand and the supply aren't necessarily on the same page. So there's just a lot of people who want it, and there's not a ton of like folks who are able to offer spiritual direction, you know? And so I think that's kind of, there's going to be probably more and more, there is more and more spiritual direction schools that are forming and a training of lay spiritual directors, which overall I would say is a positive thing and a good thing and a helpful thing. But that's like the priests were like, I don't know any priest who's available to take on more directees.
Really?
I don't know any.
How many priests do you think you know?
A lot. I mean, I know all like CFRs. Yeah, I mean, I probably know.
You probably know over 100.
Yeah. I probably know. Yeah, maybe 500.
You
I
have
don't know.
500 priests and none of them are available.
But I don't know. No, I would say like to clarify, none that I know are available. All of the 500 priests I know, most of them I don't know their schedules.
Sure, of course.
You know what I mean? But of the CFRs, like of the guys who I live with and work with, I don't know a single one who has space for another directee. They might be willing to like take on, like make the space for it. But
well,
yeah.
I mean, my observation is anybody who's good at anything is going to get a lot of requests, and that's normal and good.
Yeah.
But if you really want spiritual direction, you've got to make a lot of requests yourself to get good spiritual direction. Yeah. And so I like my sort of advice when people are like, how do I find a spiritual director? I'm always like, they're not going to knock on your door and be like, I'm here to be your spiritual director.
Yeah.
You have to treat it like a job. Like it is a job. It's your spiritual life. You know, you put intentionality into anything else in your life, put it into this. And so you got to like knock on doors, and you might get people who are not available, not out of hardness of heart, but they're busy. Keep knocking. Like, and it could be the parish priest if you think he seems wise, you know, and you respect like his homilies, like knock on the door. Or it could be the Norbertines, or it could be Opus Dei priests, or it could be Franciscans, but just knock. It could be a nun. Yeah. It could be a lay person. Yeah. You know, I've had lay people, my actual, besides the priest that brought me into the faith, my first spiritual director was a lay woman. She was a celibate lay woman, so she dedicated her life to direction, but she gave me like such a head start in figuring out who I was, what my issues were, you know, how to work on my virtues, everything. Yeah. My vices, I should say.
Yeah. and like, I think like the culture, society is different than it used to be. Right. And you don't necessarily, I think like, I mean, we're going way back, but like there would be a time where like there was like a huge amount of like mentorship and wisdom accessible to people just in their day-to-day life. And now you kind of have to like find it and initiate it. And so like I'm a big advocate of counseling. Yes. And of people seeking out like therapy and having professionals in that. And that's like and I would say like that's like, yeah, there's like a professional, and that's like super important. And like I think spiritual direction isn't necessary for everybody. But having like mentors and having people who have like wisdom and who are, you know, a few seasons into life ahead of you, who can help accompany you, I think that's actually something that's like a general human good that we all like want to have and probably should have. And so sometimes right now, because we don't have that sort of mentorship in our day-to-day life, we try and sort of supplement that with spiritual direction and things like that. Which I think is good and important, but it is just like, I live in the reality of, there's just a lot of people who want spiritual direction, and it's hard for us to like provide that.
That's actually a very important point you just made, now that we're on this topic, because, and I, you know, because I was like, everyone needs a spiritual director, like knock on every door. But a lot of the times your needs are just wise counsel, or you have emotional or even psychological or trauma or wounds that you need to talk through, or you're just very stressed out. So you need a good friend. Like, you know, sometimes you just need a good friend that's trusted, that you can just talk through your problems with. Because I do think a lot of good priests I've observed, or I understand based on, you know, limited things I've heard, they are sometimes sort of the dumping grounds for like the young woman's, you know, woes, dating woes. And so the poor priest is sitting there like, and she's doing this or that. And I was like, the priest will, you know, very lovingly, let's pray, like da-da-da. But these are things she could have shared with a good friend or even a therapist if she has anxiety that should be navigated, instead of the priest sort of having to fulfill the role of friend, mentor, therapist, which is really not the job of the spiritual counselor. It's really not. Right. But I think we blur the lines on that.
Yeah. And that's like, you can recognize it without like overreacting to it. Cause I think we use spiritual direction now, like pretty broadly.
That's true.
When maybe like what it like is that it's like, it's like you kind of how you explain it, where they're like, you kind of like, it's obvious that you kind of like are doing it in like a very particular way. You're focused on the spiritual life. There is a pretty radical transparency, and it's not just like pastoral counseling. It's not just like, here's what's going on with like, I work with a lot of young people. It's like, yeah, we can talk about your dating life and that kind of stuff. That's not 100% the primary focus for spiritual direction. We want you to talk about God and what God's doing. But like, I think like I use the language, and some of us use the language, like you got to build your team. And so we like everyone, like we're not supposed to be doing this alone. We got to make sure we have our team. And for most people, if they have a regular prayer life, if they have like a regular confessor, if they have some sort of like discipleship group that they're walking with and like a mentor or two, they probably have what they need for their spiritual journey, you know? But unfortunately, a lot of people are like on an island by themselves, and they have YouTube, and they have, their priest who's at their parish who's just like swamped, so it's hard.
I think that's I love that team concept. That's a really good one. And I think if people just did that, you said prayer, a discipleship group of some kind, a confessor, like go to regular confession, ideally the same person. So you can like have a brief conversation about where you're working on with virtues or vices, and then having, some mentors in the picture, at least one good mentor. That's game changing. Yeah. I have also noticed in I'm very interested in the shows, very interested in the world of like young singles and newlyweds and just how to have stronger families and, strength of vocation, And I have noticed too, a tendency among those who are in the dating space who are pre-marriage to sort of, especially I think of young women, and I was tempted to this a lot as a young woman before I got married, of like having the priest like trying to like solve my my love life problems, I don't know if you've experienced this, but like young pious Catholic women like, and then should I marry him, should I not, Father? And of course there's a spiritual component that's incredibly important to these discernment, but a lot of it is not like the priest can't tell you who to love or how to love. I mean, the priest can only direct you back to prayer, and I think sometimes we want our priest to like tell us like, should I marry him? Yeah. And we're like consulting the priest on every little decision of our dating life. I was like, the poor priest.
Right. And a lot of us like, and for me, the tension isn't investment or interest or concern or care.
Of course.
It's availability and capacity. Yes. And so with that stuff, it's like, hey, if we need to go, then this is where we're at right now. Cool. But there's also a lot of other people who can speak into that.
Yes.
And maybe even with like more wisdom than I have, right? So like in those conversations, a lot of time, like, what'd your mom say?
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Good.
Because actually, like, your mom knows you a lot better than me, and she knows this sort of stuff, and she's kind of been there, right? And so, like, okay, if you need to bring it to Father, especially like the thing that comes the most to me is the lack of the relationship. And here's this desire, and here's where I feel kind of like abandoned and alone with it. And I do think it's very appropriate and something I to go there as a priest and to bring God into that and to like let them be seen and loved and cared for there. I value, and those was like really privileged opportunities.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for being such a good priest.
Yeah. I try.
No, it's such a gift. And I don't mean to be too harsh about it, because I was definitely in those shoes. It's easy to like talk about the big game about it when I'm gratefully married,
Right.
But I do just want also their hearts to be full for those who are not married yet or figuring out their vocations. And you can fill your heart, and good friendship really helps a lot. Like when you're not lonely, when you're painfully lonely, pre-discovering your vocation, it can just be like the worst. And today we're so isolated.
Correct.
So a lot of people just feel like alone. And then I think that gets kind of hyper spiritualized when it's just like your animal needs are not met, of like, and not just animal, but your soul needs of just communion in the day to day. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard. I feel, because if your deepest desire is to be, it's particularly the women who are bringing this, and for a couple of reasons, but if your deepest desire is to be a wife and a mom, and that's not happening, and if you will, like there's not a lot of signs of hope for it, that's tough.
Figuring out the right daily nutrition can feel overwhelming, but one thing that I consistently rely on are the supplements from WeHeartNutrition.com. I'm a huge fan of We Heart Nutrition. It is a pro-life, family-owned business that donates 10% of every purchase to pro-life causes. We Heart Nutrition makes premium research-backed supplements here in the USA for men and women at every stage of life in the supplement's most bioavailable form for maximum absorption and digestion. From preconception to pregnancy, postpartum, menopause, and more. I personally take the postnatal supplements and have been taking them since I gave birth to our last baby, and it has helped me feel healthier than ever after my last pregnancy. You can take We Heart Nutrition's 2-minute quiz to figure out which supplements can best benefit your state of life at WeHeartNutrition.com and use the code Lila for 20% off your order. That's WeHeartNutrition.com and use the code Lila for a full 20% off your order. At my house, we start our mornings with 7 Weeks coffee. And trust me, this is the pro-life coffee that you'll want to be drinking on Christmas morning. Not only is 7 Weeks coffee organic, pesticide-free, mold-free, low acid, and absolutely delicious, it is my personal favorite to drink in the morning. I love the Ethiopia medium roast. My husband loves it too. 7 Weeks coffee also works directly with farmers, making sure they're paid more than 300% the fair trade requirement. So get your delicious gourmet coffee over at 7weekscoffee.com and save 15% forever when you subscribe. And this holiday season, you can claim up to 4 free gifts with your first order. Plus, exclusively for my listeners of this show, use the code Lila for an extra 10% off your first order. That's a 25% total savings on your first order, plus up to 4 free gifts. Just use code Lila at 7weekscoffee.com.
Yeah.
Sacred Spark, guys. Check it out.
What is that?
You haven't heard of Sacred Spark?
No.
Okay, that's the app. So I'm an advisor and partner. It's my dear friends, Emily and Daniel Hussam.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with Emily Wilson. She's amazing. And Daniel, her husband. But they launched this new dating app that's like designed to be more human for Catholics or Christian. I mean, anyone's welcome, obviously, to join. But it's very cool. I'm a matchmaker on the app. So
what does that mean?
That means that you can pair with somebody who's looking for love.
Yeah.
And then you can help them like look at profiles and suggest, you can talk to other matchmakers and suggest connecting people together.
Are you actually like talking to them face to face?
No.
Do you have their information?
Yeah.
Does that feel stressful?
I was a little stressed. I kind of said it as I signed on because Emily and Daniel were here. And so I was like, oh, let me be. And so another gal who's here, who's lovely, who's on the app, I was like, she was like, you can be my matchmaker. So I'm on. And I kind of did it a little bit. I was like, hey, I think I'm getting the hang of this. And then I set it aside for a week or so. And I was like, oh shoot, I'm not helping out. Yeah. So we went on, I was with my husband and I was like, this is like, it's a little bit fun because like we're on a hunt to like connect people, but it's also a little stressful, like you said. Yeah. But if I'm feeling a little bit stressed, she's probably feeling very stressed.
Yeah.
Just because you're in the wild.
Right.
And it's not, these are human beings. You're a human being. It's not like just a fun, Tetris game. It's like real people.
Oh, okay. What's it called? The Spark?
Sacred Spark.
Sacred Spark.
But what's cool is they designed it so that it's not just a constant swipe game. And then they have people be able to put like little audio voices to introduce themselves or a little video. So it's not just like you immediately judge someone by immediately how they photograph. So they have these different pieces. And then it's very diocesan based. So try to connect people within the diocese. So they have these different elements that make it more human is the idea.
Yeah. There's some like disclaimer I could put around it, but like I'm I'm an active proponent of online dating. Not hookup, stuff, but like just the idea of like, hey, I just encourage people to fish, to have like a line in as many places as possible, and so I get for a lot of reasons, like if I have somebody who's like, 28-year-old lives with the same people, blah, 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 this and that, there's nothing happening here. We gotta how are you going to be meeting some people? And so there's a lot of different ways you can do it. One of them I do think is online dating. And like, there's still like a little bit of like some stigma towards it of like, it feels less, it's not how things used to be, but we live in the real world and reality. And it's like, so I just encourage folks realizing there's some of it's hard, some of it's difficult, all that sort of stuff. So I'm like a couple of my proudest accomplishments are encouraging people to like do online dating for like Advent or something like that. And then they ended up like meeting somebody and getting married. And so I'm like,
you crushed it.
I'm like, you got to do what you got. I'm just very like, I'm going to be in your corner. I'm going to support you. I'm just going to encourage you to put yourself out there.
Do you keep track of how many marriages you helped inspire?
I mean, it's 2.
Okay, that's good.
So it's like I'm able to keep track. Yeah, but like from
the dating, for those people doing the dating apps.
Yeah. But it's great. Like I'm like very proud of it because it's like you kind of have to convince them. But that's one of I do a podcast with some other friars, and one of the things was like Poco. Yeah, was encouraging it, and like this woman ended up meeting somebody and they're engaged. I don't know if they're married yet, but it's like right around the corner.
Don't celebrate to the marriage.
Okay. Well, I have their picture in my office.
Okay.
So
it's not over till it's over.
It's not over till it's over. I feel like, all right, fair enough.
No, you can celebrate.
But
of course you celebrate.
I'm still celebrating. Yeah. But I bet we couldn't go, but they could be married at this point. But I'm very proud of that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, now you have a new tool in the tool belt.
It's funny. Like I'm in an okay, healthy way, an expected way. I'm a little bit in a bubble. like I live and work with priests, seminarians, friars, and like young adult missionaries. So I don't have a ton of like sense of like what the secular dating world is like. One of the things that I most desire in life, like, and actually like this is much more something that like I care about than like the media stuff, is the charism is called like encouragement, but creating a safe place for people to be like totally honest and seen and like share themselves and be like loved and cared for there. That's like my deepest desire and deepest passion, is to do that and to provide that space. And so a lot of it is just people can come and share the hurt and just to like receive them and to kind of like it's a lot of it isn't like, it's the kind of stuff where it's just like, I'm just going to be here with you in it, you know? And so just to walk with people who are suffering like that, that's like my favorite thing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So a lot of tears get shed around you.
A lot. Yeah. Yeah.
You're like a tear collector.
I gotta have tissues in my spaces, you know, and like the word gets out. And so I've got a little bit of like what do they call it? Like a girl priest thing, you know, cause guys will do it, but it's less common of a thing, is I just need to come and cry and share everything. But like for the women who have really hard stuff happen, there's a little bit of a network and they send me.
Do you get a lot of abuse victims?
Yeah.
That's a big problem.
Yeah.
Not you getting abuse victims and counseling them, but the fact that there are so many. We're going a little bit sideways, so
sure,
which is fine. If people expect this with the show, but so we're going to get back to Mary and Rosary in a year. But this is a topic that we don't discuss on the show a lot. Actually, we've been planning to do more episodes on it because it is such an issue, and people have asked. But it is abuse in the church. And I don't mean priestly scandals of abuse, but I mean abusive marriages and family dynamics and how to manage those or deal with those as a faithful Christian.
It would be helpful to like define the term real quick.
We've touched on this on the show, and we've had a lot of psychologists on the show who actually have defined it a little bit differently. Like we had Dr. Ray Guarendi on, a psychologist and father of 10 adopted kids, and gives a lot of parenting advice. He says, you can't be abused emotionally unless you permit it.
Okay.
Which was what he says, which is a pretty hard line to draw.
Yeah.
We've had other guests on the show who say, talk about narcissism or personality disorders and how those can flare up in relationships and ultimately, are abusive inherently towards the other person, and how to identify it and avoid it or try to heal from it. So, but I think that is a debate. What is abuse? Yeah. And what constitutes abuse?
Yeah. Obviously I'm not like an expert, or I'm not like there's definitely a line to it. I think it's obviously gonna be pretty subjective.
Yeah. And
like the subjective experience of the thing, is kind of what we're gonna have to like trust and get behind. So if it again, like for them, like they're like we do all this like, safe environment training stuff. And, like one of the questions is like, hey, my boss asked me to come in on time and to do my job, and I feel like he's abusing me. It's like, is this abuse? It's like, no, it's not abuse. Like there can be some of that. Do
you think we make too light of abuse in the church, or do we make too much of it? Would you say one way or the other?
I don't know that you can make too much of it if it's responding to abuse.
If it's real abuse.
Yeah. I don't think you can make too much of it. I think we're getting better at like taking it much more serious and being much more informed about it, and having a lot of better like resources and structure and training around to help people. Yeah. So I think we're trending very positively in the right direction.
I think so too. I am a concern sometimes when I see people say, we actually were discussing this before we started the interview, just about the space of faith media and then sort of political media and sort of where the two can intersect.
Yeah. And
I think in the conservative political space, sometimes there is a sort of like message of like, abuse allegations are fake, Me Too, anti-Me Too type stuff. Therapy is like wonky and woke, and people are over therapized or therapeutic. There's overly reliance on the therapeutic. You go to therapy to stay sick, like there's kind of like this like pull yourself up from the bootstraps sort of mentality among conservatives today. Not all,
Sure.
but some, especially some like in the media space that are kind of talking about this stuff. And so I think sometimes people might like judge harshly people who are suffering, quite frankly.
Right.
And how they're handling their suffering.
Yeah. I mean, my hope is that mindset gets less and less. It's extremely unhelpful. So I am very pro therapy and very encouraging of it. Mm-hmm. And I would love for like the threshold that someone feels like they have to, like the struggle they have to feel like they're experiencing that like pushes them over to get into therapy. I'd love to keep like actually lowering that bar. Again, because we just don't have a lot of the resources that maybe we're made to have for people to accompany us. And so if you're all alone in something and there's some difficult things, certainly like real serious stuff, it's great to have a professional. But if there's a lot of other stuff that like you just don't have anyone to walk with you in it, and you can find like a good and trusted like counselor, like go for it.
Yes.
You know, like I'm all for building the team.
Yes, I love that.
And for a lot of, especially again, the culture's not healthy and the effects of it are real.
Yeah, I think how can you be post-sexual revolution in America in the postmodern era with abortions happening 3,000 times a day virtually, and 1/5 now of people identifying as LGBT or up to 1/3, and all the traumas and confusions that come with that, and the hookup culture, and divorce rate, right? And then not think that there's going to be a lot of people who are wounded who need help.
Yeah.
Like it's just like use your reason to identify, okay, these are the cultural ills that are objectively a reality. So there's going to be a lot of hurt people out there. And if they're not getting intentional help, then what's going to happen to them? I mean, some maybe will like deal with it and maybe not be as scathed as others, but most people are going to be pretty touched by that.
Yeah.
Or wounded by it.
Right. Right. And it's just and again, like the brokenness of the culture and its effects are just very real. They're very real. And so,
can I ask you another question about how you handle abuse in your spiritual counseling? When you hear abuse cases, you say you speak with a lot of women. So let's say this is relationship abuse where they're being abused, but they're trying to hold it together. They don't want to divorce. Maybe there's kids involved. They're ashamed. They're confused. I know people like this, friends who've gone through this. Do you, I'm sure you're a listening ear, you encourage them. How do you deal with like reporting? How do you deal with helping connect her, or how can you even connect her to like external support to sort of extricate herself and her family, her kids maybe from like extreme abuse or from like legit abuse? And again, I'm not talking about like, oh, he said something mean to me, right? I'm talking about relentless, destructive behavior and harm.
Yeah. Yeah. The most honest answer is that all the details matter. So it's just a little bit of a difficult to give like an answer I'm going to feel awesome about in like the theoretical space.
Yep.
Personally, I would say like when abuse is being brought to me, and it's not like it's not an active thing. It's a previous thing. So something that happened when they're 30, and it's something that happened when they were 6 or
like
7 or 8. And so this thing is happening that's affecting this. And so like we, if it is sexual abuse, especially sexual abuse of a minor, like that's like a mandatory reporting thing, right? And to help them do that, or to kind of just make sure that happens. And then with the other stuff, it's like we're gonna build a team. We're gonna get the resources. We're gonna tap into all the wisdom available. So like if there's like, and again, if like in a marriage space, if there's some sort of like aggressive, like emotional abuse stuff like that, we're gonna definitely like advocate as highly as possible for like a counseling space and to get the professional like feedback on it, and then make the best judgment we can with the details that are there.
Yep. It's a very measured answer, but there, like you said, every case is going to be so different.
Right.
There's no, unlike even we're using this term abuse, we have yet to like define exactly what it means. And I think the bottom line is like, it depends on what kind of abuse you're talking about too, is the definition, because there's different kinds of it and different degrees of it, like you said.
Yeah.
But I think people listening, I think maybe the, to put a ribbon on what you're saying, and you can share your thoughts on this, for people listening, is abuse is real. There are situations where you need to separate if you're in a marriage and to protect yourself and or your kids. And that doesn't mean you're violating your marriage or your faith. It means that you are actually honoring the dignity of yourself, your children, and even the abuser by removing yourself from the position where they can continue to abuse you. Yeah. And I think there's some women and men, but mostly it's women who are caught up in these cycles who just under no circumstances feel they can separate themselves because they're afraid. Mm-hmm. And that's where we just say, you need help. You deserve help.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think I love the way you said it. I think that speaks into it. Like, you deserve help.
Yes.
You know, and if you're living in an abusive situation and of like great injustice and all that sort, like, you're just not, like, that's not what God wants.
Yes.
And God's invitation isn't just endure it and offer it up. You know, if we're talking about real abuse, it's like, it's actually healthy and right and just to respond to it and try and remedy the injustice and the abuse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me ask about that. I'm always interested in how priests are handling it, because it's such a chaotic space out there sometimes. And again, I don't mean to like always emphasize the bad stuff happening, because there's so much good happening, but you're dealing with the dregs of what people are experiencing. And so you have to, that's a lot to navigate. Yeah.
And spiritual abuse is real too. And that's something that, like, I think we're trying to do a better job of as a church and church organizations handling.
What is spiritual abuse?
I don't know how to define it, but I would just say, like, what I'll say is this: like, when you have this value, you have these two values of the eternal salvation of souls. Okay, so like, how do you like measure anything against that? And then you have the Catholic worldview of the power and the reality of like sacrifice. Is sometimes somebody can be asked to make sacrifices that aren't healthy and aren't appropriate for in the name of, you know, for the salvation of souls or whatever, or in the name of like offer it up with the cross, and it's not actually something that you should be suffering or offering up. That would be an example of a spiritual abuse. And that's like, when people come into very religious spaces with these values, they are quite vulnerable, especially as a young person. And so to help them discern, that is a sacrifice, but actually maybe it's not a healthy and good sacrifice that God's asking you to make. And that's okay. There's like a good amount of like giving people freedom in that space. Does that make sense at all?
No, it does make sense. Well, I think about orders where there were like, you know, young recruits, which were fresh blood for the order, and then they didn't respect the freedom of the young recruit, and they sort of like laid it on thick in terms of like, you got to join us. You know, I've heard these stories.
Totally.
And some of these priests or religious sisters end up leaving afterwards because they realize, oh my gosh, like, I didn't freely choose this vocation.
Yep.
It was sort of like spiritual blackmail a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
Like, if I don't do this, I'm like rejecting God's call and hurting my soul and other souls.
Right.
As opposed to, no, it's a freely offered gift, and maybe you weren't even offered it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. They just wanted a fresh blood in their order that they wanted to shore up, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a tricky thing.
Yeah. And that's a real thing that hopefully I think we're doing a better job of addressing. There's a new order of sisters. I don't know a ton about them. They were, so I can't say a bunch, but I think this, like, they're new women's order with this particular desire to respond to like abuse in the church. And that's like, that's something that we need.
Do you think spiritual abuse can exist in a marriage?
Yeah, without a doubt. What are you thinking?
Well,
like, why wouldn't it be a possibility?
Right. I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
I think in the more traditional pockets of Catholicism, where people are very intent on, I want to be traditional, whatever that is defined as.
Sure.
Because a lot of the times the traditions of very traditional Catholics are not as traditional as they may think. Maybe they go back to like 17th century France, but they're not actually like the whole of Christian history, and they're certainly not necessarily prescribed by the church for all souls. But anyway, so there's a tendency I've seen among some people reacting against the like laissez-faire, anything goes, totally rottenness of our culture, to really gravitate towards very clear boundaries, clear lines around everything.
Yeah.
And so they like to know, this is obedience, I'm going to be obedient. And in a marriage, they want to do this like radical, I'm going to obey my husband.
Yeah.
Submission means total obedience, means I might even, maybe I'll express an opinion, but no matter what he's doing, I'm not going to question, engage. Like, I'm just going to be 100%. Some might call it a doormat, you know?
Yeah.
But then they like wag their fingers at people that are saying that's a little extreme in how you're presenting this, because, they say, well, that's feminism. Like, for you to say that, you don't have to agree with your husband on everything, or, you're persuading your husband to go another way, or you even say your husband's doing things that are bad. Like, that's called feminism, which is anti-Catholic. And then this becomes this whole debate. And again, this is not mainstream debate necessarily, but this is a debate, I think, happening among some parts of our Christian community.
Yeah. To be honest, I think like this is an area where common sense goes a long way, and
it's hard to find that today, Father.
Yeah, and you can sort of like over spiritualize into like out of common sense.
That's so
and
true.
Get yourself, but it's like you can just like I don't know this, like you can look at some of these dynamics and be like, well, obviously that's like not healthy and good, and there's no way that's like what God intended. If there is some sort of like, again, some sort of abuse thing, or like.
I think what happens is like men who like are excited by this sort of approach, like really are prone to an overt, like to reject feminism or like demasculized masculinity. That's like this overt like obsession with my authority as a man.
Yeah.
And so I've even tweeted before, or like said to women before, if he's obsessed with his authority as a man and the submission of women, if that's like his game or his goal in a marriage, like I want a submissive wife, like she needs to submit to me. If that is his focus, instead of I want to love you and be loved by you freely,
exactly.
then you should stay away, because that's somebody. And similarly, for men, if there's a woman who's all about like, I just want you to pay my bills and I don't want to have to work anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, is that really what marriage is about? Like, no, you're supposed to work in marriage one way or another. you know? To avoid using people and the role, like becoming this oversimplified version of what it means to be a Christian husband or wife, and then objectifying the person instead of like loving them subjectively and personally.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, so I am a religious superior. So I am the superior of a friary. So I have authority in a context where men have taken a vow of obedience. And when we're going to do something like at a house meeting, I come to the guys and I say, hey, what do you think about this? You know what I mean? Like, that's just like, it feels like a common sense way of leadership. You don't put on your hat
and say, this is my order.
No. And it's just like, it wouldn't, and you could do that and like call it, like you can put in all sorts of like spiritual language and packing, and like that would be like an abusive authority. And that's just like not healthy. And it's like,
it's weird.
And so if a husband or wife is doing that to one of themselves, or if they're doing it to their kids, like obviously it's a little bit, there's like, there's more space for that towards your kids, because you do have like wisdom and authority in a slightly different
mom
way.
says,
you're not
because
peers.
They can't always be reasoned with. I mean, they're children, they're still developing their faculty of reason. So
yeah. But if like, so like, like again, we'll use the husband's example. If the husband says like, I want, spaghetti and meatballs for dinner, and he's like making the menu every night and is never like, hey, what do you want to have to dinner? What do you want to go to eat? Like that just doesn't make sense. Yeah. Or how can I help? Great.
I mean, I've heard about men who like tell their, in dating, they're like, you're not allowed to work.
Okay. Yeah.
And which in one sense is like, oh, wow, are you going to really pay all the bills? Like, what's the quality of life going to be for this one who's not allowed to work? And the heart behind it, which is good, is I want you to be, the good element here could be, I want you to be able to be a present mom and be able to not worry about work, but then making it a command, you're not allowed to work. What does that even mean?
Right.
She can't have hobbies. She can't like make income. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with work for money, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing fundamentally wrong or unchristian for a woman or mother or wife to do it. So like having that as a standard is again, common sense. It doesn't pass the common sense threshold.
Right.
It's one thing to say, I don't want you in an office 50 hours a week or 40 hours a week when we have kids. Like, of course, like that's a very reasonable concern. But I think these things become extremes.
Totally. Yeah. And I don't know that they like, hopefully the extreme isn't mainstream. Like, I think that these are exceptions. Like, I don't think it's the most common thing in the world. Hopefully not. But yeah, like to go back to my example, like, and there's just like this dynamic that I think is super real of like, I have like authority, but I'm constantly trying to like, not just lean on like the technical authority I have like in my friary, but I'm trying to like care for the guys and love the guys and win the guys over and have them sort of like trust and respect my guidance like freely, not because they have to, you know? And so like, I don't know, like I think, I do think there's something, I don't have like, it's certainly not my specialty. There is something to like authority in the church, and there's something to like a authority in marriage, et cetera. But like what that means can kind of get misused pretty quickly. And I don't think it applies to you. Like, I don't want to say like, yeah, it's there and it's real, but like you should almost like not know it's there or real because of how you like use the authority. Like, so for us, like like in a meeting, like it's kind of expected the authority guy's going to like do the most listening and speak like the least. Like that's, I think, good leadership and good use of authority. And so like, if I were married, I would want my authority to be in this kind of a Christian thing of like service, of taking the lowest place and pursuing the lowest place as much as possible. And like to promote the other and lift up the other and celebrate the other and favor the other, like as much as possible. Like I think like to have the authority in the first of love and the first in choosing the lowest place, I think is a great way to use authority in relationships.
Servant leadership.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ as our model.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
I came
and that's
to
real.
serve. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know who Jocko is?
Yeah. Jocko Willink.
Yeah. All his
Gotta
stuff
come on the show, Jocko.
all his stuff on leadership is like,
it's amazing.
He's got the wisdom. I love it. Yeah. He gets it. He's like, cause it's, I love it. Cause I love, obviously, like he works for a space of like high, like we're going for like a high output, like we're going for it. Excellence. Great. But also there's just a lot of wisdom and understanding how leadership really works. And this language he uses of like leadership capital, of like, you don't want people to follow you just because technically they have to, but you want to like build their trust and win them over, et cetera. So for all the leadership stuff, he's the man.
There was a book someone recommended to me recently on the leadership team at Live Action, actually. Gosh, what's the name? I'm trying to remember. But it said there's 3 characteristics of a good leader.
Okay. In
this analysis, it was saying that one of the characteristics was unreasonably high demands.
Uh-huh.
Like they want more for you than you could want for yourself, want more for themselves than you could want for yourself. I think the other one was belief. Belief in the person and yourself and the organization. We can do this. And they're like the number one cheerleader. We got this, guys. And I think the third one had to do with accountability. They weren't afraid to have the tough conversation, whether it was a good one or a bad one. Like they would be very much quick to celebrate the goods and the wins, but also quick to not make a big deal out of it, but like address the issues and say like, this, I noticed this is an issue. What's going on here? Yeah. And not like shoving controversy or conflict down the line, like kicking the can down the line, but addressing things quickly, concisely, which I found in leadership. Again, I'm always a work in progress with leadership, but addressing things as they come instead of letting things, ruminate or, kind of muddy the waters is actually for the good of the person, the good of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's part of leadership.
So how now taking all this, which is like, how do wisdom and prudence fit into all of that?
You mean knowing what people can take and what others can't?
Well,
I think this is a pastoral difference.
Okay.
Because I think when you're building, so this was a book written by someone about how to build the highest performing teams is the idea for like, changing the world or like building the biggest, whatever, missions, whatever. And I think that's different than a pastoral mission to meet people where they're at and help them take a little bit of a step forward. Because I think when you're a boss, you still need to have room and understanding for the weaknesses of both yourself and other people. You can't like have your standards can be very high, but you can't have this high standard where if people make a mistake, they're out. Right. You're over, I don't care. Like you need to let people make a mistake and then learn and grow. But I think if you want to build a high performing team, you need standards. Yep. And that's very different maybe than a role of a priest who's like literally opening the door to anybody. The standard is you are a human being, you know, and I love you for it. And so it's also like an adjustment of the role.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. Yeah. There's a lot to it.
Like you're never going to fire anybody. I mean, that's not true. You're never going to fire anybody in the pastoral setting, right? Unless they become, I guess, abusive towards you or something, right?
Well, what is that?
Maybe I should. Meaning like if you're a boss and you're building an organization, whether it's a nonprofit or for-profit, you need to be willing to let people go.
Yeah.
But if you're a priest, in a sense, you never give up on people.
You never give up on people. Correct. But also, like, sometimes a pastor needs to fire somebody.
That's true.
You know,
that's hard, huh?
That's, I think.
Have you ever had to do that?
Yeah. I've had to
on the social media team
to move on to new teams. I work with a lot of teams.
And you work with Ascension, which Ascension is one of the biggest Catholic companies in the world.
Yeah, I work with a lot of teams. I work with Ascension. One of our podcasts is with a group called Spirit Juice.
They're great.
Yeah, exactly. When I do our general social media, there's another team who does that. I'm trying to think what other. I can't fire a friar, so if we're working with a friar, we got to figure it out. But like with and it's a funny dynamic if like in a parish setting. What's hard is that actually like it's messy, and I don't have to do it, but like pretend like one of your employees at the parish, whatever, isn't doing a very good job, but you're there as like priest and you're there as boss. And sometimes actually we probably need to raise accountability and standards and
Pat Lencioni.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He has a whole, like, don't just be the nice church lady, like tell people the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. With wisdom and kindness and all that
Always
sort of stuff.
Yeah, you can never berate someone, or yell at someone. Like, be kind, but be direct. I mean, I honestly think it's a form of unkindness to not be candid.
Yeah.
Like, I want people to be candid with me, and people are. Yeah. Some people maybe could be more candid, but I think that's a good thing. It's a virtue. Now, that doesn't mean you be mean or you be nitpicky or you do. But sure. Wait, so you have had to fire people?
Yeah. But usually I do it in a way where I'm moving on to another person or another team, and I kind of like do it a little bit softly like that. Like, they know that we're not going to be working together, but they may not have experienced it as being fired.
But just to be clear, it's not like you were their full-time job and then they lost their job. It's more that they were working with you adjacent to, like, they were a contractor, or they were like...
We would be like a client, not the only client.
I see. Yeah, so they were a contractor.
Yeah.
Meaning, because I think it is a uniquely challenging thing. I know it's like some of my least favorite things I've ever done is when the person has a full-time job and you have to let them go.
Yeah.
And you're like, your entity is their living.
Yeah. Yeah. I might be awful, but I kind of get it, and I can be okay with doing that.
I'm going to call you to make my day.
Yeah, I can be okay.
Father Mark,
if it's the right thing, like, yeah, sometimes it's got to happen,
Yeah. And I've always noticed, like, every time we've done it, or I've had to be part of doing it or done it, it's always been, I've never regretted it.
Yeah.
And they've been better off. It's always worked out for the best. It's not like some like moment of passion and you're like, get out of here. It's just, it wasn't the right fit.
Like, it's actually funny. So my dad's an attorney. He's a trial attorney. And one of the questions he'll ask to jurors in the jury selection process is have you ever had to fire somebody? And because, and he'll do the thing, okay, but they had that this was supporting their family and all this sort of stuff, and you still did it. And it's like, okay, well, why did you do that? Because it was the right thing to do this or that. Because sometimes, like, you have to, the right decision, sometimes it's a hard decision. And sometimes, like, so for him, he's a defense attorney, and so there's certain situations where something bad has happened, and it's like he's trying to find somebody who's going to say the right thing, even though it's like a hard thing for this person who got hurt. But like, I believe in a big God and big possibilities, and it's like, okay, yeah, this was something that, and like, not to be dismissive of how important this work was to somebody. For me, actually, the way I'm most in this space is in dealing with young men in formation. And we have a whole process where guys are not in a lifetime commitment, and there is some evaluation of, is this the best fit for them or not? And we try to do it as limited as possible, but there are times where we have to encourage somebody to kind of pursue the Lord outside of the friars. And it can feel like firing, it can feel like that. But it's like, hey, there's a big church and God can use you, and you can have a big, beautiful life outside of this community. So really, the closest thing I get to firing or to having those types of conversation is more of like in the formation space than an actual business professional space.
Yeah, that makes sense. But those can maybe pack a bigger punch, because if they're like, in love with the Franciscans. God's calling me to be a Franciscan. You're like, no, he's really not.
Yeah.
That can really be tough for somebody.
Yeah. And that's what,
we're booting you from the mother house.
Right.
You know, it's like,
and that is,
like, let me stay.
That's one of the things I have a good amount of experience with, and I feel called to it, is getting no from a religious order. Especially for women with a female religious order. Because like there's these women that you love and you kind of like, I was going to use the word idolize, but like not in a weird sense, but like you just really respect and revere and look up to, and you want to give your life to Jesus, you want to give your life to the church, and they sort of prudently say, this doesn't feel like it's a good fit. And it feels like being rejected by God, and it feels like being rejected by the church. And it's like, it's really hurtful.
These are women who are pursuing.
So it happens to women quite a bit. You know, it happens to men too. I think they, we feel things a little bit less intensely. So
like if a woman's rejected from a religious order, she gets really,
that's been
a lot of the tears that have been maybe cried really in your office.
It's really hard. And it's hard to like I would think this is like somewhat, I'll come to our order now, probably from the men who reach out to us to the men who make final vows, it's probably about a 300-to-1 ratio.
Wow.
So it is a very specific fit.
Wait, for every 300 men who reach out about being a CFR.
Yeah, about one is going to end up making it to final vows, which is a number of years down the road. But there's and this isn't, I wouldn't say totally unique to us. There's a lot of interest and a lot of people out there, but what actually is going to work and fit is quite actually specific. And what's hard is that a lot of us have this idea of like anyone should be able to join any religious order, and it seems like it just seems like a sure thing. And actually it's like, it's not super, from your first call to the idea of you making final vows, like it's not a sure thing, obviously. Yeah. And so that's just like, there's a lot of vetting and a lot of encouraging guys. And cause some of it is like, you know, they see some music video and it's like, what do you want to do? It's like, I want to be a teacher. It's like, we don't teach. It's like, do you want to work with the poor? And they're like, no, I don't really want to work with the poor. It's like, well, maybe this isn't a good fit for you. A lot of it is that basic, but some of it is more kind of like foundational life stuff.
But it sounds like it's harder to get into the CFRs, your order, than it is to like get into Harvard. One out of every 300 is a pretty, what is that, 0.333%, right?
Yeah. I mean, kind of. I mean, there's only 150 of us.
There's only 150
of CFRs.
I didn't realize it was that small.
Yeah.
You guys have a big imprint for 150.
Yeah. Which is kind of like a beautiful God Franciscan thing, to use a small thing for a big thing. But it's not, but it's not like, again, it's not like you have to be smart enough or strong enough or this thing that. It's just like, it's a pretty specific call and mission,
right,
with particular stresses. And there's just a lot of things that make this life not healthy and fruitful for somebody.
Are you guys actively looking for recruits?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very much so. There's a whole vocations team and all that. 100%. But we're not looking for numbers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
that's a rarity today.
Yeah. And that's something that is always appealing to me, even as a young man, is that you didn't feel like the friars were recruiting you. And you always felt like when you're having the conversations with us, we're like, okay, we're going to try and find out what's best for you and what's God's wills for you. Mm-hmm. And we're very happy for it to be somewhere else. Like there's not like we'd love for a lot of great guys to come and join us, but mostly we need you to find what God wants for you. Yeah.
Have you ever had a Franciscan defect? A CFR defect?
What is that? Like leave?
Like they did their final vows and then they're like,
yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
But probably not often.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's human nature.
It's not often. It's a little bit sensitive because it's like, I know the people, but like we've also grown in good discernment as well. And like the resources that we made available to men back in the day versus what we make available now is quite different. And so
The discernment resources.
Yeah. Like somebody, and this is like, it's as a young man, like when I was joining the friars, and for the young friars, it's really, really, really hard to wrap your head around somebody leaving in final vows. Because it's like, what do you, like, you made a lifetime commitment. Like, does this even mean anything? I would say this, like the church in our wisdom does allow dispensation from final vows for a reason. And there's just stuff where it's like somebody can just have this, like, this is a trick. Like they have this idea of this is how I follow Jesus and this is how I give my life to Jesus. And they lack of freedom because they don't know that you can also follow Jesus other ways. And then they might make final vows from this like interior stress. And then they have some sort of healing and growth and freedom. And they're like, oh, I don't want to do this. I forced myself into this. And even though everyone had all the questions about freedom and this and that, I couldn't recognize it and own it. And I made like a huge mistake. And actually I shouldn't be here. Like that can happen.
Do they end up getting married usually afterwards? Or maybe joining other?
Most guys do.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like definitely not fair for men and women. Cause like there's just a different, like guys can leave and get married pretty quick. They don't have as hard of a time finding a spouse.
Meaning if there's like an ex-nun at 50 who gets...
Correct.
What's the term for you being laicized as a nun, but it's like for legitimate...
You would be dispensed from your vows.
Dispensed, and it's not because you did something evil, it's because of a discernment error.
It could be because you did something evil.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
Well, it could just be a discernment error. It's not necessarily that you did something wrong if you're dispensed from your vocation as a nun.
No.
But you're just saying if you're a 50-year-old nun, it's going to be harder to maybe marry.
I would say like if you are, because like what's hard for these types of contexts is that I don't have control. Of my audience right now.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm speaking to a broad range of people, totally. And I want to be sensitive to that. Totally. Somebody can be leaving in final vows, who is in that moment making the right decision. But I would say just something that might be the right decision and going through it in the right way with the church. But probably to get to that point, something wrong happened at some point. Something wasn't picked up. Something wasn't addressed previously. Because it's not. People shouldn't be leaving in final vows. And like if everything gogoes right, something's gone wrong. Even though in that decision, that might be the right thing to do. Which is it's just a lot messier than people want it to be.
Well, I think about annulments.
Yeah.
Marriages that were not ever valid. They weren't actually in a marriage, and how messy that can be. So it's just it's like the whole human condition. But I think what's beautiful though is that there's structure to all of this. There's God's plan, and there is so much, I guess, allowances for the weakness of the human condition.
Yeah.
So that people can still find their feet.
Yeah. 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 And
there's a lot of mercy, I think. It's just
there's a huge amount of mercy. And one of the one way in which people can experience safety in the world is very clear rules and very clear expectations. And so when we talk about some of this and incorporate the mercy and the wisdom and some of the allowances that allow God in his mercy to respond to like fallen human situations, it makes people uncomfortable. And like, again, like you'll have a young friar hear about somebody being dispensed in final vows, and their question is like, they feel a lack of safety. It's like, again, when I do this, doesn't this mean anything? Because like, I want it to mean something. I want it to give my life. And now it feels like it's being compromised in some way. But God and the church are extremely wise and extremely merciful. And sometimes it is perceived and misinterpreted as a relaxation of conviction or a watering down of the gospel. But it's just wisdom and mercy, you know? Yeah, it's messy. But God is so big.
He's so big.
God is so big, and he has
more than we can even imagine.
He has a divine resourcefulness, and we freak out, and he does not freak out because he can deal with and respond to and bring about good of everything. And so we have to place our trust and our confidence and our safety and our security and our hope in him, and not in a clear black and white, this and that, whatever. Like we can kind of try and find safety in a lot of things, and we got to make sure it's always in God, and our trust is in God, and our hope is in Him. And he's big. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Makes me think of Dr. Sean Tobin. He has a book out called Big God, Little Devil.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's all about the bigness of God.
Yeah, it's funny. I lived with Sean for, we were both in the same like household together at Steubenville.
That's
for a
awesome.
Year. And so I've seen him out here doing his thing.
The OG Sean.
Yeah.
Was he the atheist? Wasn't he an atheist at one point?
Yeah, I think so.
Was he the atheist at the party?
No. Different college, different point in life.
Oh, you're right, because that was the LA college. That was Chapman.
That was LMU.
Oh, LMU. Okay.
I did make a stop at Chapman first semester.
And then you ended up at Steubenville with Sean.
And then
Tobin.
I graduated in Steubenville, yeah.
I love it. Okay. Rosary in a Year and Mary.
Sure.
That was great I mean, there's so much more we could talk about all of the things we were discussing, but this podcast hit top of the charts. I mean, Father Mike Schmitz, obviously, Bible in a Year. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Such so talented. Ascension Press, I'm very impressed with. They constantly create this content. How can you do another Bible in a Year? And then all of a sudden you've got Rosary in a Year and it's like top of the charts. And then who's this Father Mark Mary showing up with the Rosary, So I'm curious how where this idea originated.
Sure. Great.
And then I want to hear more about your journey with Mary, and then we're going to get a little bit into the Rosary itself, because I think there's, you have a whole year of content on it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And so I think, like, as rightly so, shout out Ascension, shout out Father Mike. Also, we got to shout out the Dominicans, because they have spent centuries promoting the Rosary. The reason the Rosary in the Year was popular is because of their work. So me as a Franciscan, I need to, it's right to make sure, due honor is paid to them as well. Rosary in a Year, I'm going to say one interesting detail, and then I'll get into that if that's okay, is...
interesting is great.
great. And this is something I didn't realize actually until doing the Rosary in the Year process, is the Pope John Paul II, he instituted the Year of the Rosary back in October of 2000. No, it was October of 2003, and it ended in October of 2004. And I had my conversion moment in this party in October of 2004. And so
Month of Our Lady, right?
Yeah, Month of Our Lady. And so
that's so fun.
I can't help but think, because it was such a unique grace, that I really got to think that the grace for my conversion came from all these people praying the Rosary over that year.
That gives me chills.
Yeah. And it's like when the lights came on, I'm like, whoa, because I'm already the Rosary in the Year guy. And there's just like a real sense in which getting to do this Rosary in the Year was, like, again, a fruit of that prayer, and a chance for me to like say thank you for the grace, which was pretty awesome. And just to be how God orchestrated all that is pretty cool. But
that's very beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think the little ladies and gentlemen praying the Rosary after the Mass, those prayers are kind of holding up the church.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And,
and the world.
Yeah. And you go to, there's the Feast of the Most Holy Rosary is very much tied up with like what was the Feast of Our Lady of Victories, which is where there's this Battle of Lepanto, which, the church kind of attributes like a miraculous victory to a bunch of people praying the Rosary.
Can you briefly trace that history for us?
Yes.
For people that may know nothing about this, what is the history of successful prayers around the Rosary in Christian history? I can probably do one off the top of my head, or moderately okay, and that would just be the Battle of Lepanto. I think it's the year 1571, and it is like the Ottoman Turks are kind of going through Europe, and they're making their way down to Rome, and their sights are set on conquering and taking over Rome. And Italy and sort of like, the European forces are going to like fight back, and they're Christians, right?
The Christians,
Rome was Christian.
Yeah. And I think this is where like I don't have all the details off the top of my head, and wish you had Father Gregory on here. He would Father Gregory Pine. He knows this stuff. He'd rattle it off. He'd rattle it off.
Failed to ask him.
But anyway, there's they
were hugely outnumbered.
Yeah. Right? And the Holy Roman Empire is like, we got to fight back. Blah blah blah. This and that. they're hugely outnumbered, and the Holy Father, I think it was Pius, we can look up who it is, maybe Pius the Fifth or something like that, calls for everyone to be praying the Rosary, to do public sort of like processions in honor of Our Lady, this and that, for the intention of this battle, this sea battle, and again because the Christian troops are greatly outnumbered, and what I remember of it is all the soldiers are supposed, like, on the boats praying the Rosary the night before, this and that, like everyone was given a Rosary, and that like the moment of the battle, there's this huge shift in like the wind, and it greatly supports and helps out the Christian soldiers, and they have this like miraculous victory where they were greatly outnumbered and stopped this movement towards that would have taken over Rome and changed the trajectory of Christian Europe. And so the Holy Father, again, who had called for the praying of the Rosaries, attributed the victory to the praying of the Rosary, and he made there actually a feast day that was called Our Lady of Victories, in honor specifically of the victory from Our Lady's intercession of this battle. And then this is where it's like a little bit foggier. There was also like, this was like one set date, and then there was a feast day of Our Lady of the Rosary that was a slightly separate date, and they ended up over time just becoming one feast day, which is October 7th.
What's the origin of the Rosary? Because it's not like Jesus handed all his 12 disciples a Rosary.
Yeah.
I mean, Mother Mary was still there, so they could have just been like, hey, Mary, help me out here,
Yeah.
She hadn't gone to heaven yet. So
yeah, there's like a very, very remote and like ongoing development within Christian spaces that led to the Rosary, and I'll go through that somewhat briefly. There's something that happened with Our Lady and Saint Dominic. So a lot of the Holy Fathers and all this, like there is this tradition of Our Lady appearing to Saint Dominic in the 13th century and giving him the Rosary, which is why the Dominicans were so active in promoting the Rosary. You can say that and hold that to be 100% true, while also understanding that there was some like previous development and post-development of that, whatever that specifically was. So like, again, I'll go somewhat, like you go back to like the early, I don't know, 2nd, 3rd century. And there was like these desert monks who are out in the desert, and they do this thing where like one of them, I forgot his name, is like, he said 300 prayers a day. And to count them, he would pick up 300 rocks. And so each time he said one of his prayers, he would throw the rock on the ground. And then when he was done for the next day, he'd go pick up 300 more. So there's like this idea of like saying prayers and sort of counting them. Well, eventually they start to think like, okay, there's actually an easier way from throwing and having to pick up 300 rocks every day. We can like put them on a bead and count it. It's just a very practical thing. So this is happening. So there's people praying and they're counting their prayers, and they're putting beads or rocks, something like that, on some sort of string, which isn't unique to Christians. Like it's in a lot of different spaces and religions. So this is happening. And then there is this development of, and again, I'll go somewhat quickly, of like, so there's like the praying of there's like 150 Psalms, right? So there's praying of the Psalms. And this is something that monks are doing.
Jesus as a Jew would have memorized the Psalms and did, and all of the Jewish peoples memorize the Psalms. Yeah. And it became like, and we've taken that and like really, really valued the prayer of the Psalms, and made it a real particular way, a prayer of the church. And so the monks, liturgy of the hours.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's happening, is like the monks are making a commitment to, I think it was like praying all of the Psalms in a week. Yep. So they're praying 150 Psalms, this and that. And then lay people are coming and they're like seeing what's happening here, and they're like inspired by it, but like books are expensive, and most people can't read, and so they can't afford it. And so there's some way of them sharing in the spirituality of now saying like a certain number of prayers, because they couldn't say the Psalms. And so it's like the praying of the 150 Psalms kind of in different, again, it's not like a super linear development. There's a lot of things that are happening. Eventually people are praying a certain number of Our Fathers, for each of the Psalms. And then people are it develops into people praying Hail Marys. And so like, it goes back to like, there's this prayer of the church and the ways the monks are praying. And then there's the desire for the laity to kind of share in this, in the spirituality some way, in a way which makes sense to them. And slowly but surely over time, we kind of get the form of the Rosary we have now with, now with like the 20, praying, you can pray a lot of different ways, but like with the 20 decades and all that sort of stuff. But what I love, like, it's like, I think one of the reasons the rosary is so popular is because of these centuries of development that make it the highest form of prayer is the sacrifice of the Mass. The rosary is like a perfect prayer, though. It's like it's so human. It's tangible. It's clear. It's like the right amount of time. It's just like, yeah, it's just the popularity of the rosary like didn't come out of nowhere, and it is something that the church has developed kind of organically for centuries.
People just love it naturally.
People, I mean,
or they
kind of both and.
That's true. It's like hard for a lot of people and they don't love it, but it's so human in that 20 minutes or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a repeat, like you're saying the audible prayers. It's mostly the Bible, like inspired, the sacred scripture.
Yeah.
It's intercession for prayer from Our Lady. It's, and the Holy Spirit and the Trinity.
Yeah.
And then it's also the life of Christ. So it's meditating on these gospel scenes. Yeah. So in that sense, and we had Gabe Castillo on the show.
Yep.
You've probably seen his stuff, and he, did a beautiful job just being like, he's like, it's the most perfect prayer ever.
Yeah.
He like loves the rosary so much. It's so beautiful, but just, him sharing how his life was transformed.
Yeah, totally. You go in any church, any Catholic church, you're waiting confession line, people are praying the rosary. The first thing people do is praying the rosary. But like, what I would say is like I'm much more of a coach than a historian. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't tell you the history of basketball or whatever, but I can
tell you how to play it.
Yeah. And so like, that's like Rosary in the Year again, like the point of it, the goal of it was like helping people pray,
You're not going to tell them about Lepanto.
Well, like you do at the very beginning to kind of, because I think
get them excited.
The reason that Lepanto is so important is that the faithful united in praying the Rosary changed the trajectory of like history.
Wow.
And so like, as a sign of hope and reminder about like the tides against us in the world, and we can feel sort of all the difficult things. Like you do, like one of the things that we can do is to pray the Rosary, and this has been an instrument of grace, an instrument of victory, and of a radical changing of the tide before, and so we can do it again.
And you've got one on you, right?
I do, yeah. Got one right here.
It's a big one.
I met a couple of homeless people when I was walking over here today, and one of them asked if I could give this to her, and I had to say I couldn't do that. So
that's a beautiful. So can you just hold it for us?
Sure,
so
yeah.
This is obviously a large one. Most rosaries are pocket. You can put them in your pocket.
Correct. Yeah.
You guess you could technically in this one.
Nice one.
But you've
got it.
Yeah. So you start with the cross. What do you pray on the cross? So you're going to pray on each bead, right?
Oh yeah. Great. So like the first prayer so we make the sign of the cross, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and then we are going. So like the Dominicans are going to do it slightly different, just so you know. But the way most people,
your way, Father.
The way most people are praying the Rosary, is you start with the creed, so the profession of our faith, right? And then there's going to be an Our Father, 3 Hail Marys, and a Glory Be. Often you'll offer the Our Father for the health intentions, the needs of the Holy Father, and then three Hail Marys. Again, often asking for an increase in the virtues of faith, hope, and charity, and then a Glory Be, and then we have like what we call like the decades of the Rosary. Decade because each of the 5 sections is 10 prayers, right? And so the bones of it are going to be like the skeleton of it is going to be an Our Father, 10 Hail Marys, and then a Glory Be. Almost always now people are adding what they call like the Fatima prayer.
Oh my Jesus.
Exactly. And then you pray through the whole thing, and then you end up generally praying like a Hail Holy Queen, right? So that's kind of the bones of it, the structure of it, if you will, like the skeleton of it. Like the flesh of it then is going to be like when we are praying the Rosary, we're trying to do a combination of one of 3 things. Is the like an awareness of who we're praying to. So the first and what I would say the most important thing about praying the Rosary is trying to be actually like connected to the Lord, and to know that you're with Him and that He sees you. To be connected to Our Lady, to know that she's with you and she sees you. Right? That's praying the Rosary is not just knocking out Hail Marys. Right? To be praying, to be connected to the Lord, or have the intention of being connected to the Lord. And then we're going to be paying attention. You can certainly pay attention to the words of the prayers. Or we talk about like the meditations on the mysteries of salvation history. Principally what Jesus has done in coming to save us. And then, and so we're gonna journey through the life of Jesus from his nativity to his public ministry and the luminous mysteries, to his passion, to his, his glorious, resurrection, ascension, descent of the Holy Spirit. And then the way in which he honors Our Lady for her special role as his mother in her assumption and coronation.
So you're coming into a closer relationship with our Lord and Our Lady.
Yeah.
You're meditating on the life of Christ.
Yeah.
What about intercession? I mean, I've found the Rosary to be very powerful.
Yeah.
Where people are like, every decade they're meditating on a mystery, and then they give that decade for a particular intention.
Yeah.
Or at the beginning of the Rosary, be like, these are all of our intentions, and there's like 50 of them. Conversions for people getting health, people getting houses, people getting conversions. Obviously, I think I already said that. Just all kinds of material and spiritual goods that people need. Or in Thanksgiving, in Thanksgiving for our marriage, we're going to pray the Rosary.
Yeah. So the Rosary is what we call devotional, which is different than liturgy. Liturgy is given to us, and we are to celebrate liturgy the way the Church envisions us and asks us to. And you can't just
do what you want.
Tweak it. There's a lot more freedom with devotionals. And so with something like the Rosary, there's a ton of space for you to customize it and personalize it. And the adage of praise you can, not as you can't, is like appropriate for the praying of the Rosary. I say that because for the friars, it's not primarily like an object of a prayer of intention. So it's not that's not a huge part of what we're doing with the Rosary. We're not having everyone bring intentions.
Is that because you're more meditating on the life of Christ? It's more just about contemplation?
Yeah. It's more about that. But also there's a healthy, it is appropriate to bring intentions. Again, we talked about the intention of the Battle of Lepanto. Totally 100% appropriate. And if that's how people want to come to it and they want to pray it and not have a decade, etc. But you want to have the word that comes to mind, and it's not necessarily sensitive, is you don't want to be weird about it. And you need to understand that God is God. And so there can be a lot of fear driven. If I don't say something, if I forget something, God's not going to take care of it.
If I don't pray this Rosary for this intention, I'm not going to get the intention.
Or if I don't
it's transactional.
It's a little bit transactional, and it's a little bit of again, it's I need to do it for all these 50 things all the time. It's okay, just so you know, there is space for discernment of a particular intention of focus that you go to consistently. Also, you can have the freedom to know that if you give something to God, you can give it to him and he's going to hold on to it. So sometimes there is this adding up of intentions that's kind of a little bit fear driven. If I need to do this, and if I don't do it, this bad thing's going to happen. If there's stress and lack of freedom and anxiety towards it, we're probably off. And probably the invitation is okay, God, here's my mom, here's my sister, here's my this or that. I'm giving it to you now, and I'm going to trust that actually you can take care of them today and tomorrow. And I don't have to have this constant bringing of things like that. So that would be, and sometimes you can just kind of have the intention of this would be how I generally do intentions. Is there's certainly space in prayer for particular people and needs and intentions, etc. But also there's just I give a general, I give you all the people who've asked for my prayers. I give you all my family, all this sort of stuff. And you don't have to necessarily name everybody every time.
What has been the most surprising response to the Rosary in a Year podcast for you?
The most surprising response. I don't know that I kind of had a sense of where what I was getting into. So I wouldn't say there was a wildly surprising response or something that was totally unexpected. Certainly the demographic of people who know me and feel connected to me is quite different. And it's a little bit broader. So that's I think I have felt, I guess, I've been in some spaces where I'm doing something at a parish or a church or a conference, and I've felt very, very loved by people. And that's deeply moving.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
You don't usually hear that with media.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You do hear that, but you also hear people that are, in the more political space. It's less about love and more about triumph and fight and all the other stuff. I think the biggest pushback against the rosary and concern from our non-Catholic Christian brothers and sisters is you are idolaters.
Yeah.
For asking for Mary's intercession in this way and including her in this prayer.
Which like, and maybe I'm like off. Like that doesn't like, if someone says you're an adulterer, I'm like, okay, I get why you think that. I'm not. Like,
you're not personally offended.
No. If somebody's like, I don't like his voice, it's like, whatever, like
we don't like gray.
His reflections are stupid. It's like, okay, well, I don't get a ton of that. But I'm going to stay in this pocket and ask you a question to see. It's a little bit vulnerable on my end. I'll say this, like actually the success of the Rosary in the Year podcast was like quite isolating and surprisingly isolating because like, it's just like, my experience of it is I've thought of like, I feel like there's like the multiplication of the loaves in the gospel. And there's this little lad who has his loaves and his fish and he like gives them to Jesus. And then Jesus like multiplies them and feeds all of these thousands of people. And then it's just like you're like humanly speaking, like this like crazy profound thing just happened. And it was like your loaves and your fish and Jesus chose them. And it's like, and so in my prayer of that, like, cause you imagine like there's all the chaos and all the people going about their day. And then I like imagine like Our Lady and Jesus like coming to him at some point and being like, yeah, thank you. Yeah, this happened. Like this was like we used your loaves and your fish, and like seeing it, just because like there's and I say that, and I think that you can speak into it. It's just like it's really weird and uncomfortable to celebrate some sort of success in a Christian church space, and so it's like I feel like this really profound, intimate thing happened, but somehow because it's kind of like popular and even like a secular sense, I feel like I don't want to like celebrate it because I don't want to be like proud and I don't want to be misinterpreted or misreceived. It's just like a really unique and sort of interesting, complicated thing to like have some sort of success with a Christian thing and not really know what to do with it. Cause I don't know, like, does that resonate at all? Does that make sense?
I get that when you're dealing with works of grace, where God's showing up and you're a part of it.
Yeah.
You're a vessel for it even. Which is crazy when God allows us to be vessels for, help with his grace in the lives of other people. Dealing with success, when it shows up as a success, it's not the cross, it's like an actual success. Like, oh, everyone got fed today out of 7,000 loaves, like you just said, instead of like, oh, we're going to get crucified today. We were like, yay, it's an interesting thing to wrestle with as we are weak, finite, flawed human beings. We're like, should we be all excited and exuberant? Mm-hmm. Should we be like, no, it was all God. It was all God. Should we just ignore it and keep going and not have the champagne or whatever, the celebration is? Like, should we tell other people it was a success? You should listen too. There is a menu of options. Yeah. And depending on your own interior struggles or senses or feelings or convictions, any one of those options might be appropriate. Yeah. That's the thing. I don't think there's one appropriate way or option to always pick. Yeah. Sometimes we should celebrate and be exuberant. Other times, maybe we should be more restrained. We should always point it back to God. Yeah. Which you do, of course, beautifully. I think for me, my biggest struggle is more like my mistakes. Uh-huh. If I make a mistake, which I will, like may he humble me and but mercifully so, and then like, if God can do good, great good, Lord, do abundant good, like, 1,000x it. For your glory, for souls. Yeah. And if I'm part of that, here I am, 100% use me, but whatever you see fit, Uh-huh. Like the total abandonment thing. Yeah. Both the abandonment of my weaknesses and abandonment of all of me to the will of God is really the only kind of anchor.
Yeah. Like in your family, like if, your kids have some sort of achievement, you'll like celebrate it, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure between husband and wife, like, you publish your book, it does really well. Like, do you do something to like celebrate?
That's kind of a sore spot for me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. I actually I believe in what I wrote in the book, of course, but I wasn't like a big fan of my own book.
Okay.
I don't know if I ever shared that on the podcast. You guys should still get it. But I mean, actually, I don't even like recommend it that much. No, it's still, I think it's a decent book and it has like beautiful meditations in there. I think some good meditations, but I don't think like this is like amazing book that everybody should read, you know?
Okay.
I don't know. That's an interesting, like, I guess I have heard feedback personally that people say you need to celebrate more.
Mm-hmm.
You don't celebrate enough.
Yeah.
I think I tend on the spectrum more towards the self-doubt. So I think it also depends on the person and their struggles, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But also maybe some of the anecdote to the self-doubt is in the celebration, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you probably need to celebrate more.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. That's why I'm keenly aware of it. I'm keenly aware of it. And I kind of went to the marriage thing because I live in an all male space.
Mm-hmm.
And men, first of all, like I'm surrounded by guys doing heroic things all the time. Like radically heroic things. And sometimes we just don't do a great job of like celebrating.
Acknowledging it.
Yeah. Because we're all kind of like busy. We're all getting after it. But I do think it's a very healthy thing. Often it's like tied in like, and again, like, yeah, like just that we don't have like, we have brothers that we live with. We don't have like, you don't live with your mom and your wife or something like that, you know, like who are generally people who would be like better at celebrating something. But like, cause I'll have some of the women who work with Ascension or whatever be like, or friends of mine who are kind of like, you know, like sister figures, mentors, be like, hey, you like, oh, your book came out. Did you like, you got to make sure you do something to celebrate. It's like, we don't do anything, you know?
I didn't. I mean, I had a COVID book, I guess. So,
but I don't think that's like,
it's not a good thing as you're saying.
I don't think so.
I agree with you. It's not a good thing.
And I think there's like, it's funny.
Let's throw a joint book party. Wait, what was your last book?
When was it?
Yeah, what was it?
It was on the Beatitudes. They promised.
And you didn't have a book party?
No, I didn't have a book party.
I didn't have a book party for mine.
Cheers to we can have a book party right here.
Congratulations,
nice.
Father Mark.
Good
job. I bet your book did. Well, anyways, I'm not going to compare. Rosary in a Year podcast hit the top of the charts. Yeah. This show hasn't hit the top of the charts.
Well,
so let's do Rosary in the Year. Congrats,
Thank you.
Father Mark.
Are we doing Nice. Thank you. But like, and I kind of like, I enter into this space. I'm starting to enter into it a little bit more of like bringing up this conversation around celebration because I think there's a lot of fear around it. And I think
amongst the pious,
yeah. And I'm grateful for the experiences that I've had to see where there's like some imperfection with how we respond to some of this stuff to help kind of like recognize it, experience it, respond to it. But cause like, again, like the God being a father is like super important. And like when something happens, yeah, like even like in like Catholic spaces, we have this language of merit, which is so almost like a reward for the yes that we give. And we have this celebration of the saints. Like we celebrate and honor Our Lady.
It's true.
And she's a human being and creature in all his grace. But we do this and it's right to do it. And church tells us to do it. And so there's a way in which like, we're just so like, there's so much fear around like celebrating and like this, like, well, if God did the whole thing, I don't want to take anything from him. But it's like, there's a human good in celebrating and being celebrated. That also applies to like pious spiritual things or to Christians in general. And, almost everyone there's almost nobody who's like overly affirmed. Almost everyone is like under affirmed and under celebrated. And if we're going to make a mistake, I would make a mistake towards celebrating people and the good things that are happening.
What a great word.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And that's convicting for me. I mean, with my organizations like Live Action, we have a weekly celebration where we like shout out people on our all staff, it's every other week. We shout out people on our all staff. So that's like a thing that we do.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing like on the podcast team, and I'm also realizing, even just I'm thinking about my friendships and my family life, like, if you can definitely like be very loving and nurturing. I am with my kids and my husband and stuff, but making it an intentional point of like, what can I praise about you today?
Yeah.
Like I celebrate you, I love you, but like God loves like Adolf Hitler, So it's like, as parents, we're going to love our kids unconditionally. Right. But like, what can I celebrate about you? Because there's a million things to celebrate. And I think in the kind of media space too of people, or just like the ministry space, I should say, there's all these people doing amazing work and we should be more like open with our praise about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would, yes.
Sorry, I haven't given you a shout out on X yet,
yes,
Father.
And no. I still probably think allowing yourself to be celebrated more is probably more important than you going to celebrate other people first. Yeah, that's a part of it. But I bet you're better at celebrating other people than allowing yourself to be celebrated. At least maybe from what I've heard. I don't technically know you. But that seems to, because it's just,
it's a little uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to be celebrated. It is a thing. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's not weird when my husband does it, I guess I should say. But it's weird when, it can feel weird when people that are not close to you do it. And I think that's where there needs to be, I probably need to grow in humility instead of being like, oh, no, and just like ignoring it and like kind of like marching off and doing, the next thing. It's like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to like, thank me, like that means so much to me. And like
to do something that allows us to celebrate the reality that like God saw me, loved me, chose me, used me, like, but he did it to me specifically. Like there's a gift and a grace there that allows us to feel loved and to experience in an incarnational way, like God's choice of us, his love of us, his using of us, our fruitfulness. That is like super helpful for us to receive. It roots us deeply in our identity. It gives us strength to endure a lot of the other difficulties. And so it's super, super helpful for us to have that experience. And I think if you talked about any, like, again, I'm not a psychologist, whatever, like it's important for kids in their development to be celebrated. And if they're not celebrated at all, there's going to be some like negative consequences to it. And I would just think like, imagine if like a 10-year-old child has some huge success and their mom and dad want to celebrate it and they like say no.
Yeah. It's weird.
And it's
that would be bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like your Heavenly Father wants this to be celebrated. He wants to do something for this. He wants to celebrate us in as individuals and in unique ways and with particular thresholds and new things happening. And it's like, it's just important for us. I think it's important for us to kind of talk about it a little bit and start kind of leaning into it. Again, particularly in the pious spaces, because there's a lot of fear around it, and maybe like a space for ongoing formation of how do we celebrate what God has done in somebody in a way which honors God and what he has done, but also upholds and honors like the person as well, and how those can actually be true together. It's almost like a little bit of like how like people don't want to pray the rosary because they don't want to take away somehow from like what God has, like from Jesus. And it's like, no, both and there's like, there's a little bit here of like, I don't want to celebrate an individual for something to happen because I don't want to like steal the glory from God, but also somehow these can exist together. I think women and women's religious communities do it well. Men's religious communities, we don't do it great. And there's probably room for growth in it.
Is there something in the Catholic space where we like celebrate the wins of creators?
There is.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like,
what is it?
Like there's the
guess I didn't get one.
I think CMA.
Oh, okay.
Catholic Media Awards, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, right. But you have to like submit it.
We didn't get one, Harris. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But you have to like submit
even heard of it. Oh, you have to submit it. Interesting.
Yeah. So that would be like, so like I've some things have come from us from them that like Ascension has proposed or that Spirit Juice has. But then it's like, this is like our, this is me. See, like I'm convicted of this, but I still feel the vulnerability and the fear around this of like going into the space, like saying a good thing out loud. But like the Poco Poco podcast won like got like first place religious podcast from the CMAs.
That's awesome.
2024 or whatever it was. But it's
great.
Like,
congratulations.
Thank you. It's awkward to say that out loud. It'd be like as the podcast, the community, like for us to do that, it would be kind of like weird. Like you guys are celebrating yourselves. It's like, well, I don't know.
You're celebrating your audience. You're celebrating, your fellow friars. So I think to a proud person, everything is pride, and to a humble person, everything is humility. Right?
Okay.
Have you heard that? I'm botching the reference.
It sounds like something that would be a saying.
But meaning anything can be pride.
Yeah.
But anything can be humility. It's really in the posture of the heart.
Yeah.
So That's what it comes down to. But I think objectively speaking, to your point, it is good to encourage. You know what I have been reflecting on how the virtue of encouragement, the gift of encouragement, I should say, and realizing how much I actually need it.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I'm not getting it, it does affect me more than I would like.
Yeah.
And the importance of encouraging other people, and how encouragement is a gift that is not given or received enough. Mm-hmm. So maybe celebration is another maybe code for the word encouragement, but encouragement also has to be with like meeting someone in a hard time and telling them you got this, all the things.
Yeah, totally. And I like to kind of, I think this is totally on. Like it's humble to say like I need encouragement, and it's humble to say like actually celebrating this thing like would be helpful, and I would like to do that. And like how I kind of speak into that is I think of like our Lord's baptism, right? So he's down at the Jordan, the heavens are rent open, and the Heavenly Father like says like, this is my beloved Son with whom I'm well pleased. Like he celebrates his Son like publicly, and like concretely and intentionally. And then it's right after the baptism of Jesus and this moment that he goes into the wilderness where he's going to be tempted by Satan for 40 days, and I read into that, like in a certain sense, like for us human, like Jesus like shows us the way to live. Like there's a way in which it's not 100% true for Jesus because of what it means for him to be God. But there's like a way in which like you could see like in a human sense, like the grace and the confidence and the strength he needs to go into the desert and do the battle is received from the honoring he receives, the celebration he receives, the truth he receives of like who he is, his beloved Son, which gives him like the weapons, the ardor, the armor to go into the battle, right, and to continue to trust. And so I do think that actually what equips us to go into the hard things, to resist temptation, to remain sort of true to the Lord in the difficulties is when we are rooted most deeply in our identity as beloved son and daughter. And part of how we experience that is going to be through like some of the celebration type of stuff. I think it actually like strengthens us to remain humble and vulnerable and meek in a lot of the other, like the wilderness of life, which is part of why like it's so important for us to hear, God speak these words. If he's like, I love you. You're like, you're beloved. I'm proud of you. To hear that every day. But also like, I think to celebrate that is super important.
You know what I think a good way to close is, Father?
What's that?
We should encourage each other and people listening.
Okay, great.
Can I start?
Yeah.
Thank you for saying yes to God for your vocation, because you've helped truly millions of souls through all the media, and you add on the direct personal contact help you've done, like literally millions of people, because you've said yes and you've showed up. And you've been willing to record your talent of speaking and educating and encouraging and enlightening. And that's helped millions of people. And because now they're being helped, they're going off and praying for millions more people. Yeah. And maybe there's billions now at this point that have been helped on their journey to heaven because of you. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And there might be someone listening today that might discover their vocation because of you being willing to speak about it so openly. Mm-hmm. And there's certainly people who are going to go and pick up the Rosary. So, and many more spiritual goods I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Amen. Thank you.
And yeah.
Well, I already used my encouragement. I'll say it again now publicly, but I'll also try and I want to give you another one, Yeah, people know like this is my first time meeting you. So it's like, I don't have as much to work with for my encouragement as I would normally like to. But like what I said to you before this, and I'll say it again here, and I mean it, is that I really trust your voice. And, I haven't seen a take of yours that felt off. And it takes a lot of courage, because I think that there's especially in the pro-life space with the stakes, there's just a lot of reasons to get polarized and to pick a safer side on one side. But like what you've done is I think that you have continued to use your platform in this ministry from the heart of the church, with the mind of the church and the mind of Christ, with elegance and wisdom and courage, but in the truth. And it's a huge gift to me as a priest to have a trusted voice who I can look to and who can encourage other people to look to. And I do believe there's a cost to staying where you're staying. Like I do think it's more vulnerable, and it does require courage. And so I just thank you for the courage of, again, like continuing to bring the mind and the heart of Jesus to your work, to what you say, and to what you do. And I think that you're doing it beautifully and very well. And, it was John Paul II who said to Bishop Fulton Sheen when he met him in New York, you've written and spoken well about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I believe the same for you, like that you have represented the Lord and the church in a way that is just such a gift. And so I am deeply moved and deeply grateful. And if I can just speak under the title of Father, I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, Father.
Yeah.
That means so much to me.
Yeah.
It's very gracious and encouraging.
Yeah.
And I said this earlier, but if I have prudence, it's from the Lord, of course.
Yeah.
And it's also from the Lord, the people the Lord has given to me.
Yeah.
My parents, my husband, my spiritual guides, the mentors. So it's sort of like you have to be a really bold and aggressive, imprudent person to get around all of that prudence. So thankfully that's helped me over the years a lot.
Are you deflecting the gift a little bit?
I'm sharing it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right.
That's why I asked.
Okay. No, I receive it. Thank you.
Great. Yeah.
And I share it in that I have prudence in my life. Like my husband, I mean, I might start crying all of a sudden. Sometimes I just cry when I talk about him, but he's a man of incredible justice and prudence, like unbelievably so.
Yeah.
So just and generously just. I mean, he's obviously very generous with people, but he's also so prudent. Like when I ask him about anything or I show him things I'm working on, he always gives me what I believe is, connected to his great virtue and the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. And just having that, I know not everyone has that. So it's just, I think that has helped me so much.
Yeah.
He's got to come on the podcast.
Yeah.
He hasn't yet.
Okay. Is he not into it?
He's into it in that he supports me doing it.
Right.
And he does listen to some podcasts, but he himself is like, I'm not a camera guy. I'm behind the scenes guy, I do think eventually I'm going to get him on. Yeah. I try not to do the super hard sell. I think if I begged him,
that's probably wise.
He might. But I just kind of try to respect the.
Have you done anything publicly like that? Yeah.
No speeches, no podcasts with him. Mm-hmm. No. Can you pray that
it's kind of a vibe though? It's kind of cool.
That he. I
mean, I don't want to take that from you, but I
respect it.
I kind of respect it. It's a little Saint Joseph-y.
He's, oh my goodness. His name is Joseph.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
He's extremely Saint Joseph.
Yeah. I want you to be able to have him on the show, but I also think it's pretty cool that he's doing what he's doing the way he's doing it.
And that's where I'm sort of at peace about it.
Yeah.
Because as much as I'd like to have him on my show, like da-da-da-da,
yeah,
there's also a lot of power in how he supports me, us.
Yeah.
This exercise is our family. It's not just the show is from our family.
Yeah.
It's not Lila Rose out here doing this.
Yeah.
People might not see that. That's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've in God and his wisdom, I'm like, Lord, why? Like, come on, husband, let's do it together, but we are doing it together is the fact.
Yeah.
It's just, he's not publicly facing as am I.
Yeah. Can I stick with this theme for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. An insight that I had that I thought was kind of just unique and made sense to me. And one of my favorite parts of the whole Rosary in the Year journey was the role of St. Joseph with Our Lady. And there's a way in like Mary is a fully human. Like she's a human, and she's chosen to conceive in her womb the Word made flesh, to have this virginal conception. And you can't help but think how vulnerable she experienced in this state, both physically, but also just with the mystery that surrounds her. And with Mary, for example, with the visitation, we don't have explicit in the scriptures that St. Joseph went with her, but I think God sends his angel and says, Joseph, take her as your wife, right? Stay with Mary. And I can't help but see that God the way in which God is going to be present to Mary and to accompany her in a way which takes flesh, right? In a way which is so concrete, and which is a way which gives her like both interior but also like physical safety, is Saint Joseph. That he is there as like an icon and an instrument of God's fatherly care and protection of her, and that like he goes with her, and that there's a safety that she experiences in Saint Joseph in the vulnerability, that like God sees the vulnerability and he cares about it, and he sends Joseph to accompany her and to be with her, and to like, and I just see him like I see him being with her like in the visitation, like she's making this long arduous journey, which like it just wouldn't make sense for like a 14-year-old girl to do by herself, but like Joseph is there, and if Joseph is there, like she's safe and she's secure. And then go into like the nativity, she's just given birth, and now there's like these strangers coming to her. And like this, I don't think this happens if Joseph isn't there. Like it wouldn't make sense for her to like be there with her newborn and welcome these like strange shepherds or the magi. And there's a way in which all of this was possible, humanly speaking, because of the presence of Joseph being there. And I say this because what comes to mind is like there is a unique way in which you have been able to navigate and to stay in like vulnerably in a somewhat dangerous space. And the idea that you go to your Joseph and the way in which his love of you, his support of you, like is so real and so tangible. Like there's absolutely virtue and grace to what you're doing, but also you can just see the way in which God, as he sent Joseph to Mary, God has chosen a Joseph to accompany you and to walk with you. And that there is a real way in which I think the way that you are able to be in the space you're in, the way you're able to do it, as beautifully and gracefully and prudently as you are, like the fact that you have a really good and loving husband, you can see the influence. It makes sense.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I never thought about Saint Joseph accompanying Mother Mary to the visitation.
Yeah. It
makes sense.
Yeah.
What you just said. And it also helps encourage me in how my husband and I have set up our lives. Because I've always wondered, it's almost felt unfair, honestly, to me a little bit, because my husband is so prudent. He's so well-spoken. He's so diplomatic.
Okay.
He has more gifts in terms of communication than most people in media today.
Okay.
He does.
Yeah.
And so I know for a fact that if he did a podcast, if he gave a speech, he would be phenomenal and people would love it. Like he has those gifts.
Yeah.
But he's not felt the call to use them publicly. He has felt the call to support mine, and he does very beautifully. And that's been a bit of a wrestle for me, because I'm like, get out there, like you're so amazing, and I want you on my show, and this and that and this and that. But he just feels that his role is to support me, obviously love our children, lead our family. So anyways, that I've never really, I've always thought of him as my Saint Joseph, but I've never really thought about it in the way you're expressing. And it's actually a very beautiful encouragement. I'll share that with him too.
Yeah. And there's like,
he'll be like, good, you're going to lay off the, get on TikTok.
I mean, that's the thing is like, I don't want to push against you here, but like Saint Joseph, he didn't say anything,
Wow.
So.
Well, Mary didn't say much either. But she ended up saying a lot in Christian history, because she's always showing up.
Yeah.
She's always showing up in different outfits, in these beautiful apparitions, giving just the right message and encouragement and exhortation.
Yeah.
That's her role.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's my biggest role model, of course. I mean, she's on the wall behind you.
Yeah.
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 I love that.
Yeah. I think, because like I've had the experience, the idea of like noticing you navigate this in a way that's like uniquely good and trustworthy. That's something I've like, that's not something I just came to mind last week. Like I've observed this for a couple of years. But again, like the role, not that it's all him, but the role that your husband, and you have your own Joseph there, like it makes a lot of sense of how you have the resources it takes to do what you do the way you do it. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I guess the thing I wanted to just to like, there's a way in which my understanding of the sacrament of marriage is that like, so God loves you, right? And he rejoices in you and he celebrates you. And he wants to love you and to celebrate you in a way which is like so incarnational, that's so experiential, that's in like your daily life in a way that like you can't, like you can actually like hear, taste, touch, feel. And that like the call, like in the sacrament of marriage, like your husband, when he loves you and he celebrates you, like he doesn't just give himself, he gives you God as well, and God's love of you and God's care for you and God's support of you. And so like I see the way in which, again, the safety that is being given to you, like all the ways in which your husband is loving you well are also icons, and they're not just symbols, but they're actually like ways in which the Heavenly Father is loving you and caring for you and rejoicing in you as well. And so like, yeah, your Heavenly Father is very proud of you and he loves you and he cares for you.
Thank you, Father.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
I think that's going to help me also receive it better from my husband and also be more grateful. I'm already grateful, but there's room for more gratitude, because I think I sometimes, don't realize how much the Lord is doing for me through him. But that's like part of the mission. It's not like, oh, my husband needs to be out in front in the same way, but it's still both of us doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We get a lot of requests to speak and things like this. And it pains me if I'm doing a trip without my husband, right? Because he's holding down the home for it or whatever. But recently I had this little like inspiration, and I don't do a lot. I probably do like one a month is like our family cadence for like out of town trips or whatever. And they're like 1 or 2 nights max. But I had this like, we were discussing it, and he's like, I'm going with you. Like when you're going out, it's not that we are still one. Like, so I can receive this grace through you. Yeah. And here I am to help in these other ways that, these practical ways to help our family. And that was such a gift. I was like, like he's actually is with me. Like if I go to see Our Lady Got, I was going to go speak in Mexico City this last fall at CPAC. And I was, just like, oh, we got to go together. Like we got to go as a family. And there are all these practical considerations and also some security things that just made it not make a lot of sense. But then we were discussing, I was like, actually, if I go make this pilgrimage, we go together in the spirit.
Yeah.
And what a blessing. Yeah. Not that we can't go together in flesh too, because we have done many things together in flesh, of course, but like, this is not something I'm not doing it alone, even if I physically am alone in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super cool. Yeah. So I love it.
Even if Mary technically went and did the visitation, let's just say, say maybe Joseph wasn't there for whatever reason, he was still there.
Sure. Yeah.
His provision was there, and it was the anchor for her to be able to do that one way or another.
Yeah. I think he would.
I'm
willing to go there and to say that, but also I think he had to be there.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think he had to be there. Can I ask you some pro-life questions?
Sure.
How do you navigate what we call remote cooperation, remote material cooperation with evil? You know the right? It's like how much do you pay attention to that? How much do you? What are like even maybe just some examples, some very concrete decisions that you're making as like how you're kind of navigating it, because it is so like everywhere.
Yes.
Right.
The taxes we pay.
Yeah. One of the examples, right, is like I grew up a Nike kid. Everything was Nike. Nike was number one. It's my favorite brand. It's always been my favorite brand. But then I realized like that with that now with the overturning Roe v. Wade and all that stuff, like they're willing to they're paying employees who need to travel somewhere else to have abortions. And I don't understand how I can continue to, when I have options, continue to choose to shop or to ask for things from a place, which is like using some of their money to pay for someone to go have an abortion out of state. Like that just doesn't, I can't do that. It doesn't make sense to me. But it's like, I ask because it's like, it's so prevalent and it's so like, how do you not get like overburdened by it? How do you kind of, but still not become indifferent? Like, what does that look like for you?
It's a very good question. I would say always have some battles going.
Yeah.
I think if you never fight a battle against remote cooperation in evil, meaning like the company that is, paying for the employee to have an abortion, right? Yeah. So you're not directly participating, but ultimately through your support of the company, that money may eventually be used to support abortion, right? So it wouldn't be illicit to receive or to buy the product, but is it advisable? Especially if you can have another product you can purchase. And so now if we painstakingly looked at every piece of equipment in the studio, is one of these companies involved in abortion? Surely, right? At some point, right? Yeah. So there's a certain level of practicality, but I think you should be fighting battles.
Yeah.
And I think that's the Christian way. is find battles to fight, like take stands, because it will inspire other people to care.
Yeah.
And they may join you. So like Target is an example. I boycotted Target for 2+ years after their excessive displays of transgender content for kids, right? And just this past year, according to reports, and certainly in the Targets I went into, or I heard about the Targets and then I went and checked, they were not doing any display anywhere during Pride Month.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, this is a victory that they've pulled back on this. So I think it wouldn't have been wrong and or immoral to shop at Target, but it was actually, I think, a good thing to take a stand. And I would just say that in general to people, pick some. Like if you're not fighting any battles when it comes to this thing, then meaning like it's not technically immoral for you to like buy the product or, do whatever thing you're doing, but you're omitting, getting engaged in one way or another, then I think that is the problem. So find battles that you can fight and then fight them faithfully.
Yeah. You have wisdom. You just do.
Thanks,
I love
Father.
it. I'm open to the fact that I like what you say because I agree with what you say. But what you're saying is like
that's great.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I love that.
And err on the side of more battles than less in terms of your comfort level.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. If you only give when it's comfortable, if you only take a stand when it's comfortable, or when you have the physical time and it's not going to put you out of your again, comfort level, then that's also an issue too. Because love should hurt a little bit.
Yeah. 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 And like the language that I use these days, like something in your life has to be different because of the reality of like abortion.
Yes.
Like we can't just be going about life completely ignoring that. We have to be fighting some battles, be doing something. So like, cause I'm working on this concept that I think I'm going to start doing of like, basically like a year life pro-life examine.
I love that.
Like in the friary, we have like a poverty check where like once a year we get together as a friar, we look about how we're doing with poverty, and we do it for our work with our fraternal life, our prayer life. And I do think it makes sense and is appropriate and doable to like do it like once a year. And so I'll do it always around the anniversary here of like Roe versus Wade. Okay, let's do it. What in my life is different because of this? And then it's like, the invitation is like, to do one thing of prayer, one little sacrifice, and then one sort of like concrete choice. Pick a battle, For me in my life, the battles I pick aren't necessarily like in a public out-facing way. It's like, okay, I'm not going to ask for Nike anymore. Or, if somebody's going like a different year, so like I kind of do like my invitation or what I'm doing for myself and I invite people to do is make one more choice a year. So it's like, okay, one year is like super clear. Okay, like Starbucks for sure supports a whole worldview that is not consistent with Christian worldview, right? There's a lot of different places you can buy coffee.
Yes.
So if somebody wants to get me coffee,
7weekscoffee.com.
There you go.
10% donated to pregnancy resource centers.
Nice one.
Delicious coffee.
I believe it. Did I have some of that?
You know what? I don't know what that is. That might be from Costco. Okay. Sorry, 7 weeks.
It's all right. Sorry,
I'm not
7
sure.
weeks.
Where's that from? Do you know who cares? Oh, it's an espresso pod.
Okay. I don't know if they're good guys or not. So no comment.
You're challenging me here to get my coffee house in order here.
But that's the thing, like with so Starbucks is an easy one for me at least because it's like you have options and it's very easy for you to avoid that one, right? And so I encourage and the one I do actually like the one sacrifice thing of like, okay, for the year of 2026, for the pro-life movement, for the end of abortion, for the consistent pro-life ethic across the board, I'm gonna not have Snickers this year. I'm not going to have, it's one thing,
That's
small
good.
thing. I'm not going to have, I love whatever, seltzer water this year. I'm not going to have seltzer water. And just something that like is an ongoing reminder and also sacrifice that like keeps us like doing something, but also like we have to have like some sort of like pinch about it. Like I do think our life has to be affected by the reality and the existence of abortion and all, and the creation and destruction of embryos across the board. Like we can't just go about life doing nothing.
Not happening.
Yeah.
The thing I tell people is you have to show up at the abortion clinic.
Yeah.
Even just to pray, run rosary. You're not maybe trained as a sidewalk counselor yet. You don't know anybody else. Just go and stand and be a sign of contradiction and pray.
Yeah.
And if you've never done that, people listening have never done it, do it one time. 40 Days for Life is going to start here with Lent soon. And it's going to be a perfect opportunity. or you can just go to any abortion clinic and just stand outside.
Yep.
Every Christian should do it at least once. And I would argue every Christian should do it at least once a year. And then I would say you could get to a point of doing it once a month, but just start with the first time.
Yep.
I mean, that changed me deeply when I went for the first time when I was 14.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think it's the ground zero of the spiritual battle in our country that's raging. And it's also where the most lives are being taken, innocent lives are being taken.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's super, again, that's like there, you have to be, there is some space of living life. And there's some things that you have to be able to give your time and attention to. But also I do think some of these things, that's like extremely reasonable once a year to go and pray at an abortion clinic, especially 40 Days for Life. It's like super concrete. It's just, yeah.
It's a bare minimum.
Yeah. Yeah. And to go, right, because it's all around us, to go and like to the place where it's happening, to like see it face to face, to see the women coming in, the women coming out. I think it can just become, if we don't have those experiences, it becomes this abstract thing, and we can kind of get disconnected from, the reality of it. I love that.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I hate it because it's so, you feel so helpless.
Yeah.
It's horrific to go out and pray outside an abortion clinic.
Yeah.
It's so helpless. You see human beings going in with another human being, and then they're going to be murdered. Mm-hmm. And you can do nothing except to pray, which is everything in a sense, but it still feels on a human level, a helplessness, and it's diabolical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so
I understand why people are like, and it feels weird. There's but it's just like all the more reason you have to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And this is where I do think the Rosary and Our Lady have a special place to play in this particular battle of our time.
Yes.
And that to pray the Rosary, particularly for this intention, I think it's like the call to arms. Yeah, certainly we are powerless before a lot of it, but I attribute the quote to Pope St. John Paul II. I don't know that he actually said it, but the quote, as I say, is that prayer united with sacrifice is the greatest force in human history. And so like you're there and you can't convince this person to change their mind, but you can pray and you can make the sacrifice of being there, and you can have confidence that like you're giving rise and access to the most powerful force in human history, which is like prayer united with sacrifice. Yeah, we got to be doing something. I agree.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that reminder and encouragement.
Yeah. And I ask, cause I obviously like, it's like a deep part of your heart and your mission. Right. And it has been for a long, long time. But, and I'm just cause I recognize like we got to do something, but also that it can be overwhelming if you try and fight every battle all the time.
You can't.
Yeah. And so interiorly for you, there's some sort of surrender. I'm going to do what I can in a prudent way and trust that like it's enough, or like, how does that interiorly work for you?
I think it's good to feel uncomfortable. It's good to be heartbroken. And if you feel yourself not ever uncomfortable or heartbroken, then you need to let yourself get uncomfortable and heartbroken on a regular basis, in my view. Mm-hmm. And this I did write about in my book.
All right.
The first chapter is Let Your Heart Break.
Yeah.
And you don't just let it break one time. So you have to really engage with the stories of the horror, and not like just say, I don't want to say, it's so dark. Like people say, don't show images of abortion victims. It's too heavy. Mm-hmm. Like this is what gets people to wake up. Mm-hmm. You know, it's our discomfort with, with the horror, like justifying us, like keeping it under wraps and not letting people see the truth of this, horrible thing.
Yeah.
So what was the question though?
I think I just made a statement. We got to do something. Yeah. But I was asking about the you have to, there's to be able to not fight every fight constantly. There's some amount of like interior freedom needed to be able to like.
I think you have to suffer. I mean, honestly, like love does require suffering. Like I remember reading Mother Teresa as a teenager and just being so wowed, right? Love until it hurts, until you feel the pain. If there's no suffering in your love ever, are you really trying? Are you really like going to the edges? So there has to be some pain there. Yeah. But the secret of it is you're constantly offering the pain to God. Mm-hmm. And then the pain itself becomes a prayer, which helps for the good of souls in your own soul. Yeah. Right? Now, this isn't like you're like a masochist who's going out there and be like, I just want to like hurt myself all the time, right? Like you still celebrate, you got to celebrate, like you were saying, you got to rest on Sabbath, you got to enjoy the good of the other person. Like I've got these amazing magical kids I'm married to, like that are just like, serotonin left and right, enjoy. So like there's so much good to celebrate, and you have to celebrate the good. That's part of the entire mission, right? But you gotta like let yourself, like walk among the lepers, as like Mother Teresa would, right?
Yeah.
Like literally walk among the dying and let yourself like feel, like smell the stench of it. Effectively.
Yeah. You got to stay in touch with
Which
reality.
Which is what you do as CFR so beautifully.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to. Yeah. And that's even like there's a wisdom to like part of our legislation is that we have to live in an area noted for poverty. And,
wow, that's awesome.
And we have to we use the language of we have to have hands-on work with the poor.
Yes.
And part of that is a response to the ability to be like just the administrator of a homeless shelter. And there's this thing is then like you're just up in your office, this thing and that, and you're not getting into contact with like the real stories, the real history, the real things happening, which is in one part it is the heartbreaking part because you're there with the people and wrestling with life with them. But it also it's like the beautiful thing of like their names, their faces, their stories, their hearts. You got to be with them. But I think being in like having contact with the poor, with the leper, being going to the abortion clinic, all of this stuff. It's just I think it's necessary. I do think it's necessary, and not doing it virtually or digitally is not enough. You got to like do it in person.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
We had Austin Habish on the show, and he talks about door knocking and inviting your neighbors to church, basically.
Yeah.
And I was convicted because I was like, how many, I mean, we more recently moved into our neighborhood, but how many neighbors have I like directly invited to church?
Yeah.
Where am I taking them, right? What's my ministry look like? And so just because we have a digital ministry or we have our many other responsibilities doesn't mean we don't also have a responsibility, time and space that's bound to our station in life, connected to our physical environment.
Yeah.
And so that was convicting for me.
Yeah.
Because, and this isn't to say like some hard and fast rule of like you have to knock your neighbor's doors to like ask them to church, but you should be solicitous of the souls of your physical neighbors.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
No matter how busy you are.
Yeah, totally. There is like the way the church works is everyone's not called to do the same thing with the same intensity. It's not going to take the same form, but there are some universal principles that actually apply to everybody. And so like everyone has some sort of call to working with the materially poor. What it's going to look like for me and what's going to look like for you are quite different. But you're not exempt from that responsibility in some way. And I think similarly, like Austin, like he's had this particular like grace and call to go and to be like knocking on strangers' doors or what, and to start a ministry and to encourage it. And maybe not everyone's called to do it exactly that same form, but when you're in a conversation with somebody, you kind of said, like you can extend the invitation, and to be open to the possibility of like a real basic one that would I think applies to some people is like. A lot of people might be like, say, like, what'd you do this weekend? And they'll skip over the part about them going to mass. It's like when somebody asks you what you did this weekend, like say something about the experience at mass.
I'd love for you to come some Sunday. You're always welcome to come. I'd love to see you. I'd love to, go with you. Yeah.
And so like the difference, like Austin's knocking on doors, and maybe not for everybody. We're maybe not all called to knock on doors, but like to look for open doors and to kind of like go through them,
Yes.
And particularly through conversation. Well, also not like, I'm also very open to a whole army of church door knockers. So I'm not trying to like undercut that.
No, but I hear you. It's going to look different. But I think the bottom line is we all are in a similar mission for these similar needs, but we have to be doing something is the point.
Yeah.
If you're not doing anything and you're like, well, I'm busy with X, Y, or Z, it's like, you probably could extend yourself a little bit more.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question that's not 100% linear? Do you have what would be your upbringing background? Is it sports? Is it educational? Is it military? What's your
meaning? Like
the culture you grew up, like your home culture. Or like
homeschool.
Okay.
Classical education.
Okay.
And I was doing kind of I was doing junior college classes in high school.
Yeah.
For like some of the harder sciences and like math and things like that. Yeah. But that was my foundation. When I went to UCLA, I was actually just talking to someone about this recently. It was easier than my high school classes, my college classes, because my parents were so intentional about our education. And then I did a lot of homeschool speech and debate and some non-homeschool like Lincoln Douglas and JSA, Junior State of America. I was a senator for California, which my platform running for this thing was pro-life.
Yeah.
This was like all the secular high schools in California. So it wasn't like Catholics or Christians or Protestants or homeschoolers. It was just public schools and private. And I ran for, you can have these two senators in California every year, the whole like clubs, all the different clubs elect. And I ran on a pro-life platform, which why would people in California, a bunch of high school students in public schools vote for me as their senator? My platform is like abortion, but I won. Mm-hmm. And so I did feel like the Lord early on gave me these encouragements that you can persuade people, secular people, non-Christian people in California to literally vote for life and vote for like pro-life political representation.
Was it your conviction about like all things pro-life that led you kind of to entering into like a little slightly political space, or was it you felt a draw to that?
It was the pro-life conviction.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we had the pro-life club there.
And I'm sure your audience know this, but like can you trace back the pro-life conviction where it came from?
Yes, it was from I'm one of 8 kids. So there's like the pro-life ethic at home. My grandmother volunteered at a pregnancy resource center and invited me to come as a young kid. And then I read a book on abortion at my parents' house because my house was full of books because we were homeschooled. And one of the books was this handbook on abortion by Dr. and Mrs. Wilkie that had the history of abortion statistics, and images of fetal development, embryonic development, and abortion victims. And so seeing that, I just was deeply convicted.
Yeah,
this is happening thousands of times a day. It's legal. These are human beings. No one's saying or doing anything about it. The Planned Parenthood is 10 miles away, butchering babies up to 24 weeks. I can't just sit around like nothing's happening. Mm-hmm. I have to do something. Even if it's very small, I have to do something.
Yeah. Okay.
So there it is.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Thanks for sharing. Again, I know I'm sure your audience is all very aware of this, but thanks for...
Well, it's fun with the podcast because we go beyond... I spent so many years talking only about abortion, and now we still talk about it a lot, but we have expanded the topic. So now we have guests come in on the show, or people who watch the show who aren't as familiar with the pro-life work.
Yeah.
So it's fun to introduce them to the pro-life issue, more adjacently. Yeah. So it's like a different experience, but I love the show community we're building here.
Yeah.
So
how long has this been happening? This podcast?
The show about a little over 2 years.
All right. Very cool.
Praise God.
Yeah.
Thank you, Father.
Thanks, Lila.
This has been awesome.
Yeah. I'm really glad I had an opportunity.
This has been such a blessing.
Yeah, thank you.
I know you're like, how long does this go? Maybe 90 minutes, sometimes 2 hours. Harris, is this our? This is our Matt Fradd one.
I'm used to talking
you're used
to
chatting it up.
Yeah.
No, it's great. Where can people find your podcasting?
Oh gosh.
And your books and everything else.
Yeah. I mean, I do a lot with Ascension. So like the book on the Beatitudes is ascensionpress.com/promises. And the Poco Poke podcast is still going, which is what I do with a bunch of my friar brothers. And then Rosary in the Year is just, I don't know when this is going to come out, but it's just wrapping up. And you can always find it wherever you listen to podcasts.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Check it out, guys. It's all amazing stuff. Thank you, Father Mark Mary.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Lila Rose Show. I hope you enjoyed it. I always do. Make sure that you're subscribed if you haven't hit that subscribe button already, and go over to our Patreon to support the mission of this show. That's patreon.com/Lila Rose Show. A huge thank you to our partner, EWTN, the largest religious broadcaster in the entire world. EWTN is reaching millions of people every single day with the beautiful truth of the gospel. You can watch new episodes of The Lila Rose Show 24 hours before they hit podcast app over at EWTN.com/on-demand.